Okay, let's try again. Again, apologies. We're trying to do in person and online, and I think it's a little complicated. It'd be nice to be just all in person. We wouldn't have to go through all of this again. So I'm Stan Komoric. I'll be chairing the meeting today. My fellow panel members, Neil Palmer and Donald Taylor. Madam Secretary, I'm assuming we have no files to be closed?
None today.
Okay, and there have been 2 deferral requests, so we'll deal with the 2 deferrals first.
Yes.
I believe it's item 6, which is 26 Jopling Avenue South. And that's been requested by the applicant. Is the applicant here?
They may be
online.
Peter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chair, members of committee. Peter Jakovich with Tribute.
Good morning, sir. Could we just get the reason for your wanting to defer?
I appreciate your time. Thank you. Our request for deferral comes through discussions with city staff. We've had several conversations and are working through some various questions and concerns, in particular with planning and development. I think it's fruitful to defer to allow for that communication to continue. We do believe that, we'll be back in short order, but we are contemplating changes to our proposal, in light of the discussions that are taking place. ECS and Metrolinx.
So fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you. We get it. There are 2 residents, I believe, that were registered to speak. Are they online? Only one? Can we just check in with them with regards to the issue of the deferral only? Adam Rogers? Sir, so the applicant is proposing to defer. Just wanted to get your comments whether you are in agreement with deferring.
As long as we're getting an improvement on the request, I'm sure they'll work with the city. So I have no objection to a deferral at this time. I can always address any concerns later on after deferral.
I mean, we're assuming that they're going to come back with something more palatable after deferral, so it should be to your advantage.
It sounds good to me. I appreciate it.
Could you just state your name and address for the record?
Sure, no problem. My name is Adam Rogers. I live at 9 Michael Power Place, which is just a few blocks away from the location, not directly there, but within that neighborhood.
Okay, thank you, sir. Members, I guess
I'll move for deferral to allow for opportunity for discussion between the applicant and staff and the.
Hold on, sorry. We just have to check if there's anyone in the room for this item. So is there anyone present for 8 to 26 Jopling Avenue? Okay, if you want to come up and you can state your name and address and your position on the deferral.
Check. My name is Karen Good. I live at 32 Mervyn Avenue, and that is 1 block north of the 6 Points Plaza. And I'm in agreement with the deferral for now.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Sorry, it's disjointed with.
Okay, if that's everyone, then we can have the motion.
Okay, sorry about that. Didn't mean to stop discussion. I will move for deferral to allow for discussion between the applicant and staff and neighbors.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
All in favor? Items deferred. Our next deferral request is item 8, 199 13th Street.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, because the YouTube stream cut off, could you just do the land acknowledgement again?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Just that portion or the whole intro? Okay, we acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to inform you that there's going to be a different agent for item 8.
Okay.
The name is Shamil Qureshi.
Okay, Mr. Qureshi, are you online?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning, Mr. Chair, committee members. My name is Shamil Qureshi. I am from Intech House Design Corporation. And I'd just like to ask for deferral for this application as we are currently working with the planning department to look at what possible solutions we have to come to the best possible design solution.
Thank you, sir. Can we get your mailing address for the record as well?
Yeah, it is info@ithd.ca.
Okay, is there anyone else here to speak to that item or online? Yeah, that was your email address. Can we have your municipal address as well, please?
Yes, that would be 199 13th Street, Etobicoke.
So your mailing address is the
Oh, no,
address
sorry,
of
mailing address. Sorry, let me just get that. That would be 2275 Lakeshore Boulevard West, Toronto, Ontario, M8V 3Y3, Unit 224.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Got 2220.
Is there anyone in the room present for the application for 199 30th Street? No, Mr. Chair, so we can have a motion.
Members?
Mr. Chair, I'll move deferral to enable the applicant to consult with community planning.
I will second.
So all in favor? Okay, the item's deferred. Is there anyone else who wishes to ask for a deferral, either online or in the room? Having heard none, we can go back to the top of the agenda then. So item 1 is 19 PHLOX Avenue. And we have an agent, and I don't have any other speakers noted. And I don't have any reports from staff.
Is there anyone present in the room for 19 PHLOX Avenue? Okay, Mr.
Oh, sorry, it's a planning report. Yes, there is a planning report requesting that variance 1 be revised and variance 5 be modified. And I believe there's been revisions made which coincide with the second request. And variance 5 has been revised. There's also, I believe, 4 letters of support. And can we hear from the agent then? Is that person online? Yeah. Okay.
Hi, good morning, members of the committee. My name is Vinicius Local. I'm located at 8 Scholar Street, and I'm the owner's agent for the requested minor variances.
Okay, I'm not sure if we need a full presentation. Is there anything you'd like to point out to committee members before they have any questions for you?
Sure. Yeah, it's a simple application. We're simply proposing to build a rear garage for a single car. As you can see on my zoning waiver, we did comply with planning to revise this, item number 5 for the setback for the garage. For the deck, however, it wouldn't be very easy for us to revise it since of the pond that we have at the backyard. but I just want to point it out that the deck's going to be built on grade. So building it against the property line as they're proposing here is not really going to impose onto our neighbors. And it's very common within the neighborhood to have decks that are built all the way against the property line. And that's pretty much it, really. And then, as we mentioned, we've had an overwhelming support of the neighbors. We have a total of 11 signatures of support from 9 different properties. So it's pretty simple, really. I'm open to any questions.
And that was planning's only other concern was variance 1, which is building the deck next to the property line.
Correct, yeah, which I've spoke to you about. Because of the pond, if we were to build it smaller, it would be a little bit of a tricky configuration for the deck. So which is why we're proposing to build it as a 0 meter setback. But once again, we're building on grade. So we're not really going to be imposing within our neighboring properties.
Okay, thank you, sir. Members, any questions? I'm sorry, Mr. Taylor?
Yes, thank you. Sir, I noticed from looking at the original survey of this property that there used to be a deck running from the east wall of the house, situated basically in the center of the east wall, running out to the pond. I guess 2 questions. 1, why was that removed? And 2, could it not be reinstated in that location so that we wouldn't have a side yard variance issue?
So that's a good question. So essentially, our clients are really trying to enhance their exterior. The current deck that was there before didn't really meet their needs. So they're trying to create more of an outdoor experience by simply being able to have a few more chairs on the outside. And again, the current configuration that is there didn't really fit those needs, which is why they're trying to wrap it around the pond and have some additional greenery around the pond. So that is why we're proposing to go with this deck. It's a little bit more inviting to be sitting out there.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
No question, but just a comment. I've got issue with a 0 side yard setback. That's actually a functional encroachment onto the neighboring property. So unless you have an easement from the neighbor, which I don't see that they have, I don't see any good reason to have a 0 side yard setback, even if it is at grade.
That's always been our mutual pet peeve, is 0 setbacks.
I mean, like I've mentioned prior, it is it's kind of a common setback within the properties. I believe our neighbors at 17, they also have their deck built right against our fence, the dividing fence. So I don't think there would have been an issue with the neighbors. And again, we do have their support. So I wonder if this could be an approval conditional on some kind of an easement or conditional on a written support from the neighbor. Just really wondering, because you can see their signature at Patrick right there, 17 PHLOX Avenue.
Sorry, sir, the committee can't put a condition on someone else's property. And you have no way of knowing if that would be approved, so. And the survey doesn't show a deck on their property abutting yours.
Right. There is another survey, but currently there is one there. So I don't know what we could do to make this variance work.
My only suggestion would be to come back with another application with an easement if you want a 0 side yard setback. It's the only way you could do it. but we can't consider that at this time.
Well, you have the option to approve everything other than that as well.
So the approval would essentially be just for the garage. If we went in that direction. Correct?
Well,
How many variances are there?
Right?
Yeah.
Part of staff recommendation has been fulfilled with the division.
Yeah.
So if you're approving as revised, with the exception of the other one,
Yeah.
We can always appeal it for doing that.
Yeah, I think I'll try and capture our sentiments here. I'm prepared to and do move approval of the requested variances with the exception of variance number 1.
sorry, that's as revised.
As revised, yes.
Okay, I will second that.
Okay, all in favor? That's approved.
So the variance 1 has been refused, variances 2 to 6 have been approved.
Thank you, sir. Okay, item 2 is 17 CRONIN Drive. Sorry if I've mispronounced that. We have a application for, this has also been revised. Variance 4 has been revised. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. Variance 4 is revised. Forestry is asking for conditions 2 and 3. Transportation is fine. Planning is requesting a privacy screen on the north and south sides of the proposed platform. And our speaker, registered speaker is Jadip Barmi. Is that correct?
It's Jadip Barmi.
Okay, sorry for the mispronunciation. Please go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jay Barmi. I'm from GS Barmi Architect. The address is 2586A Yonge Street, Toronto, Ontario, M4P 2J3. And I'm here representing the clients, the homeowners for 17 CRONIN.
Okay, again, I don't know if we need a full presentation, but if there's anything you would like to bring to the attention of the members before they have any questions for you.
I'll just make a little quick remark. So we're proposing a 330 square meter, 2-story single family detached dwelling and seeking 6 variances. All variances are minor in nature and in line with the past approvals. We worked with the planning staff to revise the proposal and ensure that they were satisfied with the variances being sought. The staff recommended that 1.8 meter high privacy screens to be added to the second floor. Discussed that with my client, and we're okay with it. We're okay with the condition. The proposal, I think it fits well within the site and the neighborhood and doesn't impact the neighbors negatively. And it's consistent with the criteria laid out in the official plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any members, any questions? Hearing none, is anyone ready for a motion?
Is there anyone present in the room for 17 CRONIN Drive? Okay, go ahead, members.
Sorry.
I'll move for approval. Variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act. So I will approve as revised for variance 4, subject to planning condition regarding privacy screening and subject to forestry conditions 2 and 3.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
All in favor? Unanimous approval. Thank you. Okay, item 3 is 1118 Kipling Avenue. Let me just pull that one up. This is an application to legalize and maintain the detached dwelling currently under construction. There's been a revision to variance 1, and Ravine and Natural Forest Protection is requesting condition 2. And there's a letter of support from the next door neighbor at 1116. And we have one speaker, Tom Bassi, who is the architect. Mr. Bassi, are you online?
Yes, I'm online.
Okay, thank you, sir. Again, is there anything you'd like to bring to the attention of the members?
If it's okay, I'd like to make a short presentation for the members.
Absolutely.
Okay. So my name is Tom Bassi. I'm with Denegri Bassi Studio Architects, 1088 Bathurst Street, M5R 3G9, and I'm speaking representing the owners of the property, Pankesh Sood and Tulika Prasad. There we go. That's the drawing that I'd like to keep up on the screen. So the purpose of this application, we're seeking Committee of Adjustment approval for the retention and rebuilding of the existing rear wood deck structure on the site. This structure was originally approved alongside the initial C of A application for this address. It was included in the subsequent building permit, which was issued on February 29, 2022, and TRCA support and RNFP permits for the project as it was submitted have been granted. So a revision to the building permit is under review. This revision to permit is meant to address the current site condition wherein more than 50% of the existing house walls above grade were not able to be maintained. As a result of the current process, the retention and upgrade of the existing deck structure has come under review. So I'd like to just address briefly the two conditions or variances that are being requested and follow up with some short concluding remarks. So the first item 2, the proposed the residential zoning category structure attached to is within 0.3 meters of the building, must comply with the required minimum building setback for the zone 1.5 meters. The proposed deck structure has been located 0.98 meters from the south side lot line. In discussion with Nevra Gursoy, the assistant planner at Etobicoke, it was agreed that we would set the side yard setback of the proposed replacement deck structure at 0.98 meters from the south property line. It is the design intention that the proposed replacement deck exactly align with the south side yard setback of the main building, so 0.98 meters. The south side yard setback for the main building of 0.98 was approved at the original C of A hearing for the project. So that's one of the items. The next item, item 3, the level of the floor of the platform, such as a deck or balcony, may not be higher than 1.2 meters above the ground, except when in proximity to the rear facade of the building. So the variance requested, the portion of the proposed rear deck beyond 2.5 meters from the wall is higher than the 1.2 meters as the ground slopes away. So our comments on that condition. So first of all, it's an existing deck that's being repaired and upgraded. The existing site slopes significantly away from the rear elevation of the building. Existing engineered retaining walls form a series of structural supports into the ravine. These are existing. The replacement deck will be positioned in direct relationship with these existing retaining walls. Requirements by TRCA for the use of helical piers in this area will maintain the integrity of the existing engineered walls and the natural ravine condition that is beyond. So close oversight and involvement by TRCA planners and technicians has been underway for several years on this project. And we feel that a sustainable solutions have been agreed upon and are pending final approval from TRCA. In the last minute I just wanted to make some summary comments about this proposal. The acceptance of these minor variances and the reinstatement of the previous approvals of the built deck structure in the position of the current existing platform at the level of the new main floor of the house would allow the property owners Tulika Prasad and Pankaj Sud to safely and fully enjoy the ravine frontage of their home. Access to the rear areas of their property is otherwise extremely limited. I want to point out that Kipling Avenue is an arterial road at this location in Etobicoke as it bridges over Mimico Creek just to the north and passes the site 1118 Kipling. Traffic, including large trucks and transit buses from the north, is noisy and fast. This makes the rear yard of the property, which is the west side or the ravine side, the only respite from noise and traffic. Without the reinstated deck platform for access by the owners, the ravine backyard, the primary amenity of an otherwise challenging site, will be entirely inaccessible to the homeowners. The replacement deck structure will form the upper register of what is already an engineered condition locally to the house of retaining and support on the property. The inclusion of the upper deck would not in no way alter or detract from the current state of the ravine, as all of the existing retaining walls remain. So I'll leave it there, and I appreciate you entertaining my comments. Thank you, committee.
Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to clarify what Ravine and Natural Forest Protection is actually requesting. So I believe their condition is that you use the helical piles. Is that correct?
Yes.
So they're not asking for a permit to injure a tree. Their specific condition is the use of helical piles.
Yeah, we're not going to be injuring any trees, and there's been we're going with helical piers.
Just wanted to clarify that for everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, can you help me? In additional information, we have a memo from RNFP saying no conditions. Are you reading something that precedes that, perhaps?
Yes, they're saying no conditions, as in they're not imposing the typical permit to injure a tree.
So we're reading the same memo.
Yeah, but I believe that they are requesting that the condition be that there's a use of helical piles rather than traditional foundations for the post. But that may have been in a previous report. I'm not sure. It's at the bottom. Okay, it's at the bottom. Yeah, it's in the comment section.
Sorry, yeah, both, they make comments on two different applications. They say no conditions advisory below.
Oh, yes, I see.
Bottom of the memo.
I'm sorry, I see.
So I just want to make sure that the condition we're posing isn't the traditional F2 condition. It's specifically for the use of the helical pile.
And RNFP states even in the note below, it isn't a condition.
Yeah. So
it's an advisory. I'm just wondering if we need to put language in the decision.
Okay. I mean, the applicant's undertaking to do that anyway.
Yeah.
For plans, so that's up to you guys.
And also,
is there anyone in the room to speak to 1118 Kipling Avenue? Okay.
No, I'm comforted that he's got TRCA on side, no comments from planning, and he's revised the setback from 0.06 to 0.98, which, I guess he anticipated some negatory comments from us on a almost zero side yard setback on that. So that's good.
So, am I hearing a motion then?
Okay, I'll move for approval that variances requested as revised or minor in nature meet the four tests in the Planning Act. And that's, do we have to make it subject to the ravine protection?
They didn't have any conditions?
There's no condition, okay, so yeah, so no conditions.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
All in favor? Unanimous approval, thank you, sir. Okay, so item 4 is 68 Haverson Boulevard. This is a application. Wow, to legalize and maintain a new dwelling with a detached garage in the rear yard that is currently under construction. Previous Committee of Adjustment application approved a second-story addition above the existing dwelling, a two-story rear addition, and a rear detached garage with variances related to floor space index, length, depth, and lot coverage of an ancillary structure, and side yard setbacks of an ancillary structure. There are 10 variances being requested on this application. We have an objection from number 66, and transportation is okay. I don't think we have any planning comments. Am I correct in that? Okay. And we have various letters of support. So number 4, and I believe the agent is Mr. Marion Zabzuni. And Mr. Zabzuni, are you in person? Perfect. It's been a while. Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me now? Okay, perfect. Yes, great to see everyone in person. It's been years on our end. So my name is Marin Zabzuni at 1140 the Queensway.
Okay. Again, not sure if we need a full presentation, but if there's any points you'd like to make for the committee members.
Maybe I'll keep it very short, just because it's such a long process of this application. The homeowners have been through a lot. Just to have a quick summary, and then if you have any questions from there, if you don't mind. So the application proposes to construct what is now considered a new dwelling by renovation. The original application was heard on February 23rd, 2021, and was approved on condition by the COA. The original application was for a second-story addition, front and rear additions, which consisted of a new excavated front porch, new basement walkout, and rear deck. Shortly after receiving approval from the COA on the original application, and once final and binding approval letter was received, a building permit was issued. Upon beginning construction of the proposal, with the benefit of a building permit, it was identified that 50% of the existing walls could not be maintained, and as a result of the proposal was no longer considered an addition to the existing. Despite the proposal no longer maintaining 50% of the existing main walls, the proposal will be constructed on the existing foundation. So the proposed building length and depth were approved as part of the previous hearing, which is the main contribution factor of the increase in FSI from what is permitted as of right under the zoning bylaw. The FSI increase from what was previously approved is only linked to the south side yard setback variance, which is also triggered on a technical basis. As such, the proposed FSI will be in keeping with existing character of the neighborhood, and this does not represent an overdevelopment of the subject property. The proposed FSI results in an overall massing that is in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood character and the ongoing development within the neighborhood. And there's several supporting material of showing many dwellings very nearby and on the same street with even higher FSI. So the proposed north side yard setback of 0.0 meters is only for one pinch point at the northeast corner of the proposed dwelling, and is due, in fact, to the subject property, as it is a corner lot with a curved front lot line. The majority of the north main wall is set back at 0.32 meters, which is what was previously permitted. There has been a small shift on the south side wall to 0.55 meters. So the basement ledger on the existing foundation wall was previously at 0.39 meters from the south side lot line, and now has been eliminated, removed, creating a wider walkway and a greater separation from the neighboring home. So the proposed roof eaves encroachments are minor and will have little to no impact further than what the bylaw already contemplates. The roof eave encroachments are as a result of the proposed side yard setback and front yard setback. This is a similar situation which was recently approved variance application at 70 HAVERSON Boulevard across the street. The front porch has now been relocated from the northeast front to the southeast front side. Variance items 7, 8, 9 all relate to the relocation of the front porch and stairs. The proposed front porch and stairs are similar in design to 70 HAVERSON Boulevard. That was approved with similar variances. The approval application consisted for a front platform to encroach on the side yard setback. Establish grade height and stairs 0 meters from the property line. The proposed parking space will have a length in the rear detached garage of 5.34 meters. This was actually previously a missed variance that was not on the previous zoning reviews and identified. This newly identified variance is in direct correlation with a previously permitted and approved garage. So no changes to the garage from what was previously approved. That is to be constructed 0 meters from the north side lot line. So based on this information, I'm in the opinion that all the variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act. And as a result, the building is in keeping with existing characteristics on HAVERSON Boulevard and will fit in with adjacent and surrounding context. And just to recap, we did receive 16 letters of support from neighbors. We received a letter of a counselor to support us, and transportation also provided support. Planning has no concerns, and that's our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I forgot to mention in the added materials, we do have a letter from support from the counselor and a cover letter from the applicant. We have Carlos Ramos indicated as a speaker. Is that?
Yep, he's on the line, Mr.
On the
Chair.
line. Okay, Mr. Ramos, if you'd like to make your presentation, please.
Members of the committee, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, excellent. So my name is Carlos Ramos. I am the owner of 66 HAVERSON Boulevard. I have lived here for 11 years. Our property is located right beside the applicant's property on the south side. The applicant's property is a corner lot, so I am the only one affected by this project, and I would like to object to the proposed variances. First, I would like to remind everyone what has already been well established. This is no longer a renovation. This is now a new build. The reason we are here again is because the applicants intentionally removed over 50% of their existing walls during their renovation. This proposal should be treated as a whole new proposal because what previously existed on the property does not confer any entitlement to similar setbacks. I will summarize my concerns quickly. Variance number 1. The required minimum front yard setback is 2.8 meters. This property has a front yard setback of 0 meters. Which is not minor and does not maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaws. The eaves encroach past the property line and into city property. This committee does not have jurisdiction beyond the applicant's property line. I also did not see any mention in the report by the transportation department about allowing the eaves to encroach onto city property. They only commented on the garage. If you take a look at page 3 of my letter, you can see the eaves encroaching past their property line. Page 3, please. This is not page 3. This looks like, there we go. You can see the encroachment outside of the property line. Okay, variance number 2. The required minimum side yard setback for a detached house is 1.2 meters. The setback of 0 meters to the north side lot line is not minor once again. The eaves encroach past the property line on the north side and into city property. Variance number 6, a platform without main walls. An encroachment of 2.2 meters in the front yard is not minor. In fact, this porch is closer to the street than their previous application. If you look at page 2, you'll see a diagram and comparison. The front porch is 0.6 meters closer to the south side lot line than required. If the 2.2 meters front yard encroachment will be allowed, we should at a minimum respect the south side yard setback of 1.2 meters for this porch. Allowing this porch to be built without setting it back to the minimum required side setback will cause greater destruction to my concrete walkway during the construction of this porch. If you look at page 2 at the bottom, you'll see my concrete walkway. It's in yellow and it's right against the wall and where this proposed porch is being proposed. Setting the porch back will also allow for better water drainage and snow removal, which has always been very difficult. Even with the removal of the 6-inch ledge from the wall, we are still very close together, and snow removal is still difficult based on my lived experience over the last 2 years with the reduced ledge. The downspouts location on the side south wall did not exist before. This will cause great amounts of water to be deposited between the houses and close to my foundation. One of the main reasons for a minimum side yard setback is to mitigate this problem by having sufficient space to keep water in your own property. I must stress that the front porch should be set back on the south side in order to place their downspout at the front like it has always been historically, and not on the side of the house. The front porch is being proposed to be in line with the south side wall because of the height and proximity to the property line. The front porch creates a degree of overlooking between the properties and into my side window that is unwanted. The applicant has made an argument that the front porch is exactly like 70 HAVERSON Boulevard. This is not accurate. 70 HAVERSON Boulevard maintains the minimum required setback to its neighboring property on the north side of its porch. Variance number 8, the eaves of the roof may encroach into a required minimum building setback, a maximum of 0.9 meters if they are no closer to a lot line than 0.3 meters. The proposed eaves encroach 2.8 meters into the front yard. This encroachment is not minor. Once again, the eaves encroach past the property line and into the city property on the north and front sides of the building. There is a missing variance from this application. A platform without main walls attached to or within 0.3 meters of a building must comply with the requirement building setbacks for the zone, 1.2 meters. The proposed rear platform deck variance has been the subject of previous COA and TLAB hearings. The TLAB already concluded after careful examination that this platform
Just a heads up on your time. You're at 5 minutes now. If you could wrap
Can you
up
just
soon.
give me 30 seconds? I'll wrap up really quickly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the proposed rear platform deck variance has been the subject of previous COA and TLAB hearings. The TLAB already concluded after careful examination that this platform should be set back on the south side lot line to the minimum required setback, as it does not maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. But rather than setting back the platform side wall, they have added a planter on the south wall. This platform wall should be set back to the minimum required side yard setback, as was recommended by the TLAB. There should also be a side yard setback on the north side of this deck, which I'm not seeing. And that's page number 4. You can see the TLAB comments. And I'm just wrapping up right now. I saw the letters of support from neighbors and the city councilor, and I must note that none of them are affected in any way if the proposed application is approved. I must stress that I am the only next door neighbor, and I will be the one stuck living with the problems that this project will cause if not reviewed carefully. So I believe that my opinion should weigh more in this matter. In conclusion, most of the sought variances could be resolved if they would just set their front wall back further. Instead, they are still trying to squeeze by asking variances that encroach past their property line and into city property. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my concerns.
Okay, thank you, sir. I have 2 brief questions for you before I go back to Mr. Zabzuni for rebuttal.
Sure.
The first question is with regards to your front porch and how that relates to the front yard setback. Because from what I'm seeing on their site plan is your porch and stairs are essentially in line with what they're proposing. Is that not correct?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But keep in mind that this is existing. It's grandfathered, and when you add a porch in line with their wall, now you're changing the dynamic of how things used to be. They never had a front porch there. So I understand that my porch is there.
And your setback is essentially the same that you're contesting right now.
Well, the problem that I have is like I mentioned, is I have a side window, and if you put in line this porch,
I understand your problem, but the facts are what they are. Is that correct?
Yes, my porch is in line with the wall, yes. But once again, like I said, this is existing, right? If I was to rebuild my home,
but how far is your porch from the front property line in terms of setback?
I wouldn't have those exact numbers.
Would you say that it's the same or similar to what they're proposing?
I would say no. I mean,
No, you're set back further?
yeah, like if you look at my steps, they're not at 0 meters from the property line. They're proposing 0 meters from the property line. So it's definitely
Okay.
not the same.
And do you acknowledge that they are in fact creating more space between the two houses with this proposal than what existed previously?
Yes, 6 inches. And like I said, this bungalow has not existed for 2 years, so I've already experienced the reduced ledge, and quite frankly, hasn't made much of any difference. But yes, of course,
Okay,
it is increasing in
but it
size.
is an improvement. It is an improvement over what was there.
Absolutely, yes, it's definitely.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll take it back to Mr. Zubzuni now.
Is there anyone present in the room for 68 HAVERSON Boulevard? Okay, but you're not speaking. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Zubzuni.
Thank you very much. I'll start off to address the encroachment of the eaves. Since this is a corner lot and there's a small pinch point encroachment, I'd like to confirm that we received an email yesterday from transportation that they're okay with the encroachment agreement. I printed that email out just to confirm. And also, they even sent us the draft agreement of the encroachment for the eaves. They have no problem. This is not the first house that is asking for this. It's a corner lot situation, existing conditions, and 70 HAVERSON actually got approved for the same thing. So no problem with transportation whatsoever. We worked closely with them for many months. To reiterate that this is an improvement based on what was previously approved, the homeowners essentially cut part of the foundation ledge because there was an existing very thick foundation wall, which improves the side yard setbacks to the neighbor and to the other side. For the front porch, we were forced to relocate the front porch from TLAB because essentially, even though it was previously approved, since it's not considered a new home by renovation, they did not want the encroachment. They wanted us to rebuild at the homeowner's cost a new porch and relocate it into the property. As you can see, the front site plan and property line, this is the only location that we can fit a porch, which is essentially in line with the neighbor. And we believe it's very logical and reasonable, and there's no other way without encroaching into the city property. So I believe we approached it as best we could with existing conditions on hand. And please let me know if there's any other questions.
Members?
Yeah, a question. Just so you've got the encroachment for the eaves. Are there any other encroachments?
No.
Because I think the last time we had this, I think that's where we had issues with the encroachments, which we can't approve. So I think you've made some improvements here, which is quite good, I think.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Don? Do you guys want to have some discussion, or is anyone ready for a motion?
I guess I would agree with Member Palmer. I just noticed that we both sat in June 2022. And as I listen and read, I'm recalling that our major issue is the encroachment. And we had no jurisdiction to allow something that encroached. And now that's been resolved. So after hearing and considering all of the evidence, I move approval without conditions.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? It's approved.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm stuck on the computer here. Our next item is Item 5, 1552 Western Road. Okay, this is an application to construct a new 8-story apartment building. A total of 50 affordable housing dwelling units will be provided. There are a total of 12 variances. Variance 1 has been amended or revised. And we have 1 objection / concern. And I believe we have support. I'm just trying to find my file. And we have at least 1 support document of support, unless there's anything. And I believe in additional materials, we have more support. Okay. And our speaker, Mr. David McKay. Would that be you, sir?
Yeah, yes, it would. David McKay.
McKay, sorry.
No worries.
And I believe we also have other speakers listed. There are some area residents, but we'll start with the applicant then. Sir, welcome.
Thank you. David McKay, registered professional planner with MHBC, 7050 Western Road, Suite 230, Woodbridge, Ontario. With me today is also the owner, Tim Neeb, Abby Goldsmith, the property manager, and Carolyn Donaldson from Loft, one of the service providers in the existing building and the future building. I do have a presentation if you'd like me to go through it, sir, or I can wait until the residents say, bring up some issues and I can address those. But this project has been worked through with planning staff, the counselor over the last number of years. We've had 4 public meetings outside of the normal site plan approval process. We have an ongoing working group with the neighborhood to address ongoing and future operational matters. Our client has been very forthcoming in terms of responding to issues that are raised by the community, including full contact information for the providers as well as the property managers and himself, and has addressed those comments and concerns almost immediately. Sometimes things do happen, such as the garbage issue that's been raised, and that Toronto Garbage didn't pick up. And so my client's resolving that this week. The proposal, as noted, is for an 8-story apartment building, which is permitted as of right on the property. We are seeking a number of variances to provide for an infill of the existing parking area, and that necessitates the parking variance. We are meeting the parking requirements for this proposal, but the bylaw does include a provision that says if legal parking is there, you need variance approval to remove it. So that's the technical variance on the parking. You can see the various elevations we've worked through, including on the west elevation, we have adjusted at the community's request, adjustments to the windows to reduce the sizes and numbers, as you can see on this elevation, as compared to the other elevations, which do have quite a bit of windows. So in terms of the landscape and setbacks, obviously those are required to provide for that infill condition. We are providing for a urban condition along Western Road in line with the existing building, similar to what is occurring on other main streets in the city of Toronto with 0-meter setbacks. In a number of cases, we are providing for example, a widening along Western Road, which requires or necessitates the 0-meter setback request along Weston. We are improving the conditions in terms of landscaping, both on site in front of the Edmonds frontage, as well as along the west property line, including a new fence along that property line to improve the condition there. Relative to the height, it is necessitated both for servicing of the building in terms of the floor to ceiling height on the main floor, as well as the request by city planning to provide for a higher first floor height, which then pushes the building slightly up 1.9 meters, and that is to the top of the parapet. In terms of the amenity space, we are providing for, because it's a fully residential building, we're providing the indoor amenity space at grade facing the corner of Weston and Edmund. And so that necessitates the separation of the outdoor amenity on the rooftop of the existing building from that indoor amenity space, but it is fully accessible by both staircase as well as elevator to that third floor provision. So really it's a technical variance in that provision. So with that, I'll leave my comments, but we believe it does meet the 4 tests, as does the planning staff in their staff report. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have and respond to any comments or questions from the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from members before we go to other speakers? Mr. Taylor?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mackay. I noticed from the location map I'm looking at and the Google Instant Street View, there's an existing, appears to be maybe a 4-story building on this side.
That's a 2-story building.
A 2-story building.
Yes.
Can you tell me approximately how your proposal compares with what's there now in terms of the footprint? Is it longer, wider, deeper?
It's
I know it's taller. But.
Yeah, it's a little bit, maybe if staff can bring up the site plan. It is maybe the next slide. So you can see that we're abutting the existing building. It is about maybe a meter in the east-west in terms of depth. It does align with generally with the western road frontage of that existing building. And I would say it's about, in terms of north-south depth, it's about 1/3 of that existing building.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, we have a couple residents on the line. Gina LaRusso, Dave Bennett, Maria Pimentel, and Michael Weber. All registered to speak and on the line. Dave Bennett has requested to be on video, so I'm going to move him to a panelist now.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, this is item 5. Okay, I've also had an added speaker, Michael Weber. Is that? Yes, okay. He's online. Okay. So I guess whoever, the order I have is Lena Russo. Is she online available? Jen, sorry.
Jen, I've unmuted you. Is that Mrs. Gina LaRusso?
So she's actually not available at the moment.
Okay.
Okay. Can we move to David Bennett then?
Dave, I've moved you to a panelist, so you can now turn on your video if you'd like to use your video.
And sure.
Okay, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Can we just get your name and address first, just for record?
Dave Bennett and 14 Edmund Avenue.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Great. Again, my name is Dave Bennett, and I live at 14 Edmund Avenue with our family. We are 4 houses to the west and therefore 36.5 meters from the property. I'm also an executive of the Weston Village Residents Association and a board member of the Weston Heritage Conservation District. It's been my experience with both volunteer groups that a development application with over 10 variances become issues for the neighborhood for the life of the development. I agree we need affordable housing, but this addition to the current building doesn't fit the site. The future residents of this building deserve better, and therefore I oppose this application. This proposal has 12 variances, which is a lot. I understand that making a new building fit into an existing one is challenging, but many of the variances are not minor. 4 of the variances are at 0 or not even half. Variance number 2, minimum front setback of 6 meters is 2.29, not even half. Variance 3, minimum side setback should be 3.5 meters, and that's 0 meters. Variance 6, 50% of the lot should be landscaped. It only has 15%, whereas the other 35. Variance 7, 50% of the lot should be soft landscape, and this application only has 21, not even half. These variants tell me at grade, the building does not fit. The Western Road corridor already feels tight, especially in the sidewalks, and these 4 variances reduce that public space. The reduced streetability of our community, which is now a metric of. Yes, we have some letters of support, but I really feel that the loft letter of support kind of seems like a conflict of interest as they work in the current building. I'm surprised that Irving Tissue, toilet paper manufacturer across the street, has not commented on this application. As the applicant stated that they were going to hire Irving Tissue consultants to understand if this new building was physically safe to be this close to the Velocity steam stack, excuse me, which is only 156 meters away, as this new development will be taller than the steam stack. The threat, as explained to me by Irving Tissue executives years ago, the steam will freeze in the winter months and continue to build up onto the building until the weight will pull the facade from the building. Where is that report? Will the residents be safe on the upper floors? There's no 8-story building within blocks of Irving Tissue, I imagine due to the steam. Why are we deciding today to put one across the street without this report? The future residents of this application deserve a safe building. I kindly request to reduce the number of variances I mentioned earlier, which will improve the livelihood of the future residents. Wendy, who lives at 6 Edmund Ave, who also registered for the meeting, texts me and says she cannot join because of a work conflict. Her husband is concerned about the privacy into their 3rd floor primary bedroom, which currently has multiple skylights. These skylights face the site, and she's concerned about privacy as an 8-story building will have sight lines. She's also concerned about the application using city garbage bins, which I believe Maria commented on with her report. As I just don't understand how 70+ units have enough curb length to have bins at the street, which has street side parking. Yes, there are not many residents at this meeting this morning, and I believe this is due to a city staff worker, Sarah, stating in a community meeting on September 14th, 2020, with 20 residents, that this application, and I quote, is a done deal, which is not accurate, as we meet today to discuss 12 variances. And because I even questioned this meeting today because of that, I really feel like that's a poison pill for this today. I appreciate your time, and I'll open up for questions if you have any.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the panel members of this deputant? If not, we'll move on to the next deputant, which I believe is Maria Pimentel.
Everyone. I'm assuming you can hear me. Thank you for this opportunity.
Welcome.
My name is Maria Pimentel, and I reside at 19 Edmund, which is just a few doors further west of our previous speaker. So I'm just outside of the 60-meter catchment area, is what I understand. Nonetheless, I'm on Edmund Street, and I thank you for your time to hear my concerns. I echo all of Dave's concerns and also his support of the need for affordable housing. My concerns generally, I stated in my letter, related to garbage. which I don't even know if it's a zoning concern. I'm speaking to from the perspective of the health and safety and the aesthetics and efficiency of for the residents and neighbors. As you can see with one of the pictures that shows current 8 bins that haven't been picked up, they're still there this morning, so that's almost a week of the pickup date. But they take up about a third of the available space, and that's for just the existing 2 floors. So I'm unclear of how the street can support 8 additional floors with the remaining space, which would be just beside toward Reston in that picture. You can see it in a future picture, the perspective looking down Edmund. In addition, there are already other bins that are full. So I gather those 8 bins that are on the street right now are not all the bins that are full and need to be picked up. So that is my concern. The aesthetics of the street, the view for the neighbors to see what I imagine is going to be a minimum of 30 garbage bins along that street on a garbage day, assuming they're picked up and there are no other challenges with reaching those bins, given those are street parking spaces. And the impact on the neighborhood. We are right down the street from the ravine area, so we've had coyotes on the street, you know, various wildlife you commonly would see, and they would be attracted to that space if the garbage is not maintained. And so with the space provided that we can see in the plans, it looks like it is relying on City of Toronto bins. There are no garbage chutes. That I don't understand how this building is supposed to be accessible for those with physical disabilities, and yet they'll have to travel, you know, up to 8 stories to sort garbage into 3 separate bins. And I wonder then if that just leads to non-compliance of sorting, which then contributes to city garbage bins filling up sooner. So, I mean, in summary, those are my concerns. The planning for garbage removal and how, if it is not planned appropriately, I just feel the size of the building cannot be supported with the space there, as Dave had said, specifically for garbage storage and then removal, given the space and the street size. That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions from panel members for this presenter? No, thank you. I believe our next presenter is Michael Weber. Is Michael on the line?
Hello?
Hello, welcome, sir. Can you just give us your name and address, please, for the record?
My name is Michael Weber, and I live at 1552 Weston Road, the proposed site.
Thank you. Go ahead with your presentation when you're ready.
So my presentation is that I've been contacted on a number of, on behalf of
Sorry,
a number
what's
of
your address?
1552 Weston Road. I live at the site.
Sorry, it cut out. What number on Weston?
1552.
Apartment 107 on the first floor. So
Oh, you're on
I'm
the subject property. Okay.
I am on the subject property. I've been contacted by a number of residents here on the property. I'm very social here, and I'm very active with the community that lives here. And we are damaged individuals. We are here for subsidized housing. We need help. And frankly, I've had multiple people come to me and say that this is very scary to them. You know, they can't talk in public. They can't come out. They can't socialize. They can't come to this meeting. They can't associate with society because of what happened to them and their damages. And I'm damaged too, but I'm just well spoken and able to speak on our behalf. And on our behalf, we all are very concerned that this is going to really upset our state of life. And a lot of people have been living here happily for years, and are very concerned that this is not good for anyone here. And a lot of us are concerned. I've had at least 5 people, residents, they come to me and say, "Are you going to this meeting?" And I said I would on their behalf. We're concerned here. Many residents are concerned. We're not supportive.
Can you provide us with some details, excuse me, of what those concerns are?
The sound, the noise, the construction. You know, like this is our home, and they're gonna minimize our space to enter and exit. You know what I mean? Like it's already very hard to maintain this place, and also like having all these construction workers here, like I know of at least one resident that doesn't leave their apartment because of social interaction and how difficult. Having more people on the property is not good for the mental stability of these injured and traumatized individuals. Me being one of them. You know, we don't want to have to deal with more people, including random construction workers or people we don't know. We have workers that come to deal with us, so we don't have to deal with everyday life. And that's the truth of it. And it's sad, and it's just the truth. That's why we're here, is because we have a subsidized unit because of it. It's because we need it, and we need to be safe. And this place is a safe haven for us.
Thank you. Do you have any comments on the finished product, how that's going to affect you in terms of like after the construction?
You know, I really wanted to comment on Dave Bennett's point and how strong his argument was, and how it's such a well-versed and educated point to agree with what I'm saying. Because as far as like, you know, I mean, like this, I mean, we need more. I mean, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work for anyone. I don't see how it's making sense to. I'm sorry, I'm rambling. I guess I don't have anything else to say. If you have questions, feel free. I live here.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? No? Is there anyone else?
Mr. Chair, I would say we go back to Gina just because she's still on the line. She's still on the line. So try one more time. Give me one sec here. Gina, I've unmuted you. Would you like to make submissions today?
No, sir, I don't have anything right now.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the room to speak to this issue? No. And we have no one else online then. Okay.
Go ahead, you can proceed with your rebuttal.
Okay, just before we get to that, if I can ask a couple of questions.
Sure.
Just wanted to clarify the proposal. So what's next to this right now is an existing two-story supportive housing structure?
Correct.
And you're essentially infilling the existing parking lot?
Correct.
You're not removing any part of the existing?
There's some adjustments to the south face of the building because there are windows there. And we are adjusting that obviously for the construction purposes, but that only affects that one area of the site. The rest of the building is not being impacted. And we will be working with the existing residents as well as with city staff with regards to construction.
Will this be two separate entities, or is this going to be combined into one?
It's, I got with the owner here, but it's effectively one ownership, but it's two separate buildings. So two separate types of residents. This one focused on seniors.
Okay. And are we creating any variances for the existing site by doing this?
Just with regards to the parking, because we have that technical variance of removing parking, but the actual existing building and the proposed building meet the parking requirements of the bylaw.
Okay, thank you. If you can go ahead with your rebuttal, please.
Yes, thanks very much. With regards to Mr. Bennett's comments in terms of the issue with the number of variances and the size of the variances, as committee is well aware, those are not planning matters. They're that does not determine if it's minor or not. There are many instances approved by the Ontario Land Tribunal, the TLAB, and committee where variances were significant, even to zero. And so I would put to you that that should not be a determining factor in terms of moving this very important project forward. Relative to Irving Tissue, Mr. Bennett is aware that we have been in touch with Irving Tissue. We just received last week their data relative to their facility after signing confidentiality agreements. That took almost a year and a half to get out of Irving. We are working through that and to address their concerns, and those will be incorporated into the site plan approval process, and staff are very much aware of that. Also, with regards to that, an 8-story building is permitted on the site. So with regards to height and the issue with Irving, it is a compatibility matter that we're dealing with, as I said, through site plan, and we'll address those items through the building design. It's not a minor variance matter. Relative to the skylights and the privacy matter, as I mentioned in my presentation, we already addressed some of those issues by reducing the windows, both the number and the size on the west face, to reduce that overlook issue. Obviously, with an approval for an 8-story building that exists today, the privacy issues do occur, but we've tried to address that as much as possible, and staff are in agreement that we've done an appropriate way of doing that while maintaining the livability of those westerly units within the building. In terms of the garbage, we've worked with Toronto Waste Management, the city's staff, with regards to the garbage, both existing and proposed. We do have an approval from Toronto Waste through the site plan approval process to have the bins, both existing and proposed, brought out to the street for city pickup. And what the woman was referring to in terms of the garbage and the arrangement, that's an operational issue, which again, we are working with Toronto Waste on that. Unfortunately, for this week, just happens to be coincidental, they didn't pick up. They actually drove right by the site. So as soon as we found that out on Friday, my client called them and said, guys, you have to do this and pick it up. We don't control Toronto Garbage in terms of when they respond, but we are responsible, and we have tried to address that. And through the management of the building, both existing and the future, we believe that we can address those garbage issues and try to perfect that over time. She'd mentioned about garbage chutes. This is an affordable housing unit. There are accessible units that are required by building code in the building. And like other buildings that my client manages, if required, they do have operational staff on site to assist those residents who can't easily go down to the garbage room. And so that's an operational issue that my client already deals with in the numerous other affordable housing units. With regards to lastly, in terms of the existing resident, I do appreciate his concerns. As I said, we will work with the existing residents to minimize construction issues and noise and whatnot through a construction management plan. We are not insensitive to their concerns, but it will happen in one way or another in terms of those issues when construction occurs, and we try to manage that as best as possible. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
I have one more question before I turn it over to panel members. Just trying to wrap my head around the garbage storage. Are the bins to be stored outside, or do you have, because I'm looking at your drawings, I'm trying to, there's one refuse room. So
that's correct. There's a refuse room inside the building with a roll
are
up door.
all of your bins going to be contained within that room when they're not being put out for collection?
For the new building, yes, and for the existing building, they have their own garbage room.
So that room is sufficient to accommodate all of the bins that you're needing?
Correct. City staff comment through the site plan approval process on the size of the waste room based on the number of units and what the requirements are, and have agreed with the size of that facility.
Okay, thanks. Members?
Yes, sorry, I've got a couple questions. Mr. Rikai, just on the landscape strip, it sort of meanders, but the area of the landscaping is more than you'd provide if it was just sort of the standard, what is it? Is it 1 point? No, it's 2 meters that it's supposed to be, right? I think I read in your material that the area provided is more.
So this is on the west side. So the current condition is actually less, and so we're improving that. Obviously balancing that off with the existing parking as well as the driveway system that still needs to be there. And so we are improving that as above the existing condition, as well as improving through a new fence and some landscaping within that new area that doesn't exist today.
And you've got landscaping, but you've also got private amenity area, which doesn't really enter into the equation for the landscaping. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we don't treat that as part of the calculation, but it is additional open space that's associated with the new building.
Okay, and then I'm a little confused as to the 0 side yard setback where that's measured to, because it looks like you're providing a road widening and you've got a 0 side yard setback. So is a 0 side yard setback to the future
correct
right of way? So right now it's meeting, it's less than.
It's less than, but it is there. But when the road widening gets taken through site plan approval, it goes down to 0.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, and then the other 0 setback is to the existing building then?
That's correct. When the widening happens, it's all right across the entirety of the frontage.
But I'm referring to the north. I think you've got it referred to as the west, where you're attaching to the existing 2-story structure.
Yes, but there's no setback required for that.
No. Oh, so that's not one of the variances.
No.
No. Okay. Okay. No. Planning that basically has a favorable report, no conditions. Let me just double check. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no further questions, Mr. Taylor? No questions? Okay, so I'm prepared to move a motion. I'm going to move for approval. The variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests. And that's, yep. So I'll move for approval with no conditions. And I recognize the concerns of the residents, but I believe that the applicant has worked with staff for some time to come up with a good plan here moving forward.
Yeah, I'll second that with just a bit of commentary. I think generally I'm pleased. I think we're all pleased to see efforts to address the affordable housing issue in Toronto, and this certainly does that. That, however, has really no bearing on our decision because we have to look at the planning merits of what's proposed and consider the variances requested. I was quite impressed that the city acknowledged that they've been working very hard on the site plan control process and review on this. And they spoke specifically to a number of what may appear to be contentious issues, i.e. the 0 meter east side lot line. Have they reminded us that that's largely due to the road widening of Weston Road. They talked about landscaping shortfall as being less significant than it might appear because you're actually building on a paved parking lot. And they addressed the amenity space issue and pointed out that not included in that variance is the fact that the building will have a green roof, which provides amenity space. So again, a long-winded commentary to second the motion, but I heartily second the motion to approve.
All in favor? So that's approved unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.
So item 6 has been deferred. So we are now moving to item 7. So item 7, the purpose of the application is to construct a new townhouse. There are 2 variances, but I believe there's a consent involved here as well.
No, so Mr. Chair, the applicant has decided to go through a part lot.
Oh, part lot control process.
Application.
Yeah.
So before you are 3 minor variance applications for the 3 townhouses. Each one has slightly different variances.
Right. Right, so because they're going through the part lot control exemption process, we're not dealing with the severance. We're dealing just with the variances that result from that.
Correct.
Thank you.
Is there anyone present in the room for 15 Mahoney Avenue? Okay.
And, sorry, seven. We have a presenter, agent Stephen Q. Is online. Okay. I'm just, okay. Sorry. Yes, Mr. Q.
Morning, Sir Chair and committee members. My name is Stephen Chi, Senior Planner from Design Plan Services. Chi, yes, it's pronounced as CHI. So our address is 900 East Mall, Suite 300, M9B6K2. We have been retained by the owner of 15 Mahoney to present the applications today.
Okay, before we get into that, I have a question with regard to variance 1 on part 1. It's saying the maximum permitted driveway width is 3.2, and so the new driveway will have a width of 2.9. So why is that a
I
variance?
think that should say minimum width.
Okay, so that's an undersized driveway that we're looking at.
That is correct.
So the variance should be stated as minimum rather than maximum.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe that only pertains to part 1 only.
I believe so as well. Okay. I guess, so Madam Secretary Treasurer, in this instance, we are to assume that the severance is a fait accompli and we're just dealing with the variances alone.
You sort of have to deal with it independently. Planning has not provided comments, so in the absence of that, I guess we can guess that perhaps they won't be opposing it. If you have a concern, you can always put in a condition that they obtain final approval of their part lot control application.
Okay, so the only, okay, I'm just not sure. I guess we'll have the applicant make the presentation with regards to the variances, and if you could address those, sir.
For sure. So maybe I can answer the first question related to regarding the part lot control exemption. So the application is currently under process, and we have received first round of comments from city, and planning only has one comment stating that the variances must be approved, must comply with all zoning bylaw requirements prior to them bringing it to council for consideration. So that's the only planning comments provided. And also, as discussed by Secretary Treasurer, there are no planning staff report received for the proposed applications and variances, and that usually indicates they have no concerns with the application. And also, extensive discussion, and we have worked extensively with planning staff on this proposal since 2021, as stated in my cover letter. And I also wanted to know that Transportation Services has provided staff report indicating they have no concerns related to the partial front yard parking space variance. We've also reviewed the comments from Metrolinx, which is consistent with Metrolinx comments received for the part lot control exemption application, and we'll be dealing with that through the application. So even though the proposed lots will be created through part lot control exemption, I just want to know that the proposed lots are compliant with zoning requirements for lot area and lot frontages. There are 2 variances requested for part 1 and part 3. 1 variance only for part 2 in front of the committee today. I will go through the parking variance first, as it pertains to all 3 parts. This variance, as mentioned previously, is triggered by the proposed parking space, which is partially located in the front yard. However, as shown on the site plan, majority of the parking space is located within a proposed carport and behind the front main wall. More specifically, 4.6 meter of the required length of a parking space is located under the carport, and only 1 meter is encroached into the front yard. Further, front yard parking is a common condition on Mahoney Avenue and in the surrounding area. And based on a rough calculation on Toronto Interactive Mapping with aerial overlay, there are 65 lots fronting onto Mahoney Avenue, and approximately 20 lots utilize front yard parking currently, without even considering parking spaces available on the driveways that are located in the front yard. It is our opinion that the proposed partial front yard parking space will be consistent with the character of the area. The second variance is related to the width of the proposed driveway on parking space, which is only pertaining to part 1. And as explained in my cover letter, this variance is technical in nature, as the proposed driveway meets the width requirement of 3.2 meter for most part, except for the northwest corner where a structural column is located at to support the second floor. Therefore, in our opinion, the purpose and intent of the bylaw has been met. The third variance pertains to the proposed east side yard setback of part 3 only. It is our opinion the proposed side yard setback of 0.9 meter provides adequate setback for access to the rear yard and for stormwater infiltration purposes, as well as separation distance to the adjacent dwelling located at 17 Mahoney Avenue. Further, the proposed side yard setback is consistent with the existing side yard setback on Mahoney Avenue and in the area. As shown on the survey, 17 Mahoney Avenue, which is directly to the east, currently has a west side yard setback of 0.88 meter, which is smaller than the proposed side yard setback. And further, I would like to ask staff to pull up attachment 2 of the submitted cover letter dated August 10th. So I'll just go through the map while staff is pulling that up. So that is a map from Toronto Interactive Mapping showing the property boundaries and general building footprints. And as highlighted, similar and even smaller side yard setbacks is a common condition on Mahoney Avenue. Therefore, the proposed east side yard setback will be consistent with the existing side yard setback patterns and will not create any undue adverse impact. The proposed development, although located within the mixed-use area, and avenue designation under the official plan, which is contemplated for higher density. It is designed in a sensitive manner, considering its adjacency to neighborhood. It will provide adequate transition from future higher density developments along Western Road to the interior residential neighborhood, while providing much needed housing to the city and province. Therefore, it is our opinion the proposed development is appropriate for its location, and the associated variances are minor in nature and meet the 4 test. We respectfully request the committee approve the applications. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions at this time.
So any questions for the members? If not, so just want to remind members that we're looking at the variances only for this application, and welcome any comments or motions.
My only comment is on the perlock control. I don't think we can make that as a condition of the variance, because it's got to be, it'd be like a chicken and egg situation. Sorry, discussion here. Can I ask the applicant a question? Go ahead. Sorry, Mr. Chi, the perlock control process, do you need a building permit and the foundation in order to get approval for the perlock control?
From my understanding, from my understanding, no, we don't need to show the foundation, but we did provide the building, the site plan, to view by site plan approval process as well, and we received comments. So it will be reviewed through building permit stage.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Yeah, no further comments. I'm prepared. Do I need a separate motion for each, or can I just do one motion for all of them?
You can do them all together.
Okay, so applications, yeah, variance is requested in all three of the applications are minor in nature and meet the four tests in the Planning Act. So I'll move for approval of all three of the applications with no conditions.
Second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Just a comment to staff. Sorry, all in favor? Unanimous approval. Just with regard to variance 1, part 1, we're going to change the wording on that.
Yes, we fixed it to minimum required versus maximum.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, could we take a?
I was going to say, yeah, to take a 10-minute break.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks.
Doesn't matter. Icon somewhere still.
Are we live? Mr. Chair, I think we're ready to begin.
Okay, thank you. Welcome back. So our next item was item 8, which has been deferred. So then the following item is item 9, 24 EDWALTER Avenue. And that is an application to construct a second story above the existing dwelling and a 2-story rear addition. There are 4 variances being sought. Forestry is requesting conditions 1 and 2. And we have transportation, I guess, is okay. Yep. And that's all we have. And then we have one speaker, Antonella Wild, who is the agent. And is she online or?
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, welcome.
Thank you. Would you like a presentation or should I?
I don't think we need a full presentation. Perhaps if there's anything of note you'd like to mention to committee before.
No.
Is there anyone here in the room for 24 EDWALTER? Okay, go ahead.
Okay. No, I think the variances speak for themselves. We are aware of the urban forestry concerns and our burst has been retained. Really, if you have any questions, specific questions, I'd just be happy to answer those.
Okay, thank you. Members, any questions for the applicant? No, no questions. Okay. Any discussion or motion?
You have any questions, Mr. Palmer? Okay. Yeah, I'm satisfied the requested variances meet the 4 tests, and I move approval subject to urban forestry conditions 1 and 2.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor? So we're approved unanimously. Thank you. Helps if you turn on the microphone. Sorry, on to item 10, 30 Orchard Crescent. This is a application. Sorry, yeah, let me just describe the application and I'll get to you in a sec. This is an application to construct a 2-story rear addition, a new covered porch, and a new rear deck. And there are 2 variances being requested. Forestry is requesting condition 3. I believe that's all I have. Okay, and we have an agent. Is there anyone here in the room to speak to this item? No? Okay, we have an agent on the line, Ali Shakari. No? Yes? Mr.
Yes,
Shakari,
sir.
are you there?
Yes,
Okay,
sir. Ali Shakari. 326 Shepherd Avenue East for the record.
Thank you. I don't think we need a full presentation, but if there's anything you'd like to share with the members before we have a discussion.
No, sir, I don't take any of your time on the, except that we have seen the letter of condition from the forestry. It's acceptable to us, and also there's a non-objection letter from TRCA. I have nothing to add. Happy to answer any question. Thank you.
Any question from members? No? Okay.
Okay, I'll move approval. Variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act. And that is with forestry condition number 3.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all in favor? Approved unanimously. Thank you, sir. Okay, item 11 is 25 Roseland Drive. And you just, this is an application to obtain consent to sever the lot into 2 undersized residential lots. And I believe this is, if I recall from my reading, this was a severance that was done, but then time lapsed. And so we're back to reapply.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Ariana Nanoa, and I'm a planner at Design Plan Services, located at 900 the East Mall, Suite 300, Toronto.
Welcome. And do we have any other? No. Okay. So if you could please give us a brief summary of what we're looking at.
Yeah, so this was a previously approved application. The semi-detached house is already built with the benefit of a building permit. And the reason we are in front of you today is because the certificate of official that was issued lapsed due to some complications, and therefore we are here before you today to seek approval for the consent application.
Okay, so this is basically, there's going to be no changes, there's going to be no resulting construction, you're just legalizing what is essentially is already there.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, any questions from the members?
Yeah, just one question. Sorry, the conditions that the committee imposed previously, was it difficult to fulfill the conditions, or it had nothing to do with the conditions? It was just the certificate that you need after?
Yeah, it's just the certificate of official. The previous conditions were already satisfied for the previous application.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we're up for a motion.
Yeah, I'm ready for a motion. I'll move approval of the severance with standard conditions, I guess, that we normally impose.
I'll second that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, you have your severance. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Sorry, there was no, is there anyone else that was here for 25 Roseland?
No. I did ask this time. Still trying to get used to this online and in person at the same time. So our next item 12 is 175 Lakeshore Drive. And just give me a couple of minutes to get all our notes together on this one.
Okay, is there anyone here present for Lakeshore Drive too? Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is an application to obtain consent to sever the property into 3 undersized lots. And the related variances that would result should that severance take place for the 3 detached dwellings that are proposed to be constructed. And we have forestry recommending refusal, or in the alternate, recommending conditions 1, 2, and 3. They're the usual ECS conditions. We have 5 objections online. I believe we have some in the additional materials as well. And planning is the sort of, I guess, almost non-statement, but they're not contesting it. And the applicant for this is Amber Stewart. Is Amber present or online? Online, okay. If we can get Ms. Stewart to come to make a presentation then.
Yes,
Hello?
Mr. Chair, and I know my video is not on. I would not mind having it on if it can be turned on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to move you to a panelist now. Once I do that, you can turn your video on from your end.
Okay, and before you start your presentation, I was going to ask this after, but I'll get to it now. I I have one question, and it pertains to your foundation plans, which show a media room under the garage. Can you explain that?
Yes, Mr. Chair. In terms of what you'd like me to explain, I mean, I can advise that there is excavation under the garage, which would essentially be used as a media room with no windows. It doesn't contribute to FSI or any of the other variances.
I understand. So what you're proposing essentially is a second basement level, a
Uh,
sub-basement.
Well, I suppose it would technically be considered I mean, it's part of the basement plan, but yes, it is underneath the garage. So yes, it's technically a sub-basement. That's true.
Well, then you have technically two basement plans. You have one that's labeled a basement plan, and then you have another one that comes underneath that.
Well, yes, that's true.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. If you can go ahead with your presentation, thanks.
Okay, and Mr. Chair, I am getting I'm getting messages from my clients as well. If there is a concern with that, then it's not something that they require. It's simply something that was added as a feature, but in any event, as I said, it doesn't contribute to the variances at all. So thank you very much. Good afternoon. If we could turn to the plans and just to the front page of the plans, that would be, unless I have the ability. Do I have the ability to share as a panelist?
No, you are not permitted to share.
Okay, thank you. So thank you. That is the front page. So just by way of preliminary comments, Mr. Chair, this application was originally submitted, and I did hear the comment about planning being neutral. I'd ask that that be recharacterized, because planning did issue a memorandum in June 22nd. The memorandum did not identify any concerns with the severance, so not with the lot frontage or lot area variances, but there was a box ticked off that indicated that there were concerns with the built form variances. It didn't provide particulars, but that was indicated as a concern. So my client's designer met with planning, had many productive discussions with planning, and was actually directed to look at specific other addresses in the area and beyond to take some cues from the built form that planning would support. So this originally started as 3-story flat roof dwellings. The owner revised the proposal for all 3 lots to have a sloped roof line, as you see in this image of the 3 houses. And the result of that is that the main wall height variances were removed. And so that was sufficient to satisfy planning's concerns with the applications. I will also note that there was a transportation memo which expressed some standard conditions which are not of objection. And also concerns with respect to the internal width of the garage height, or the garage dimensions, I apologize. So that was also modified to address transportation's concerns, and so that's been resolved. So planning did issue an updated memo on July 17th, and that identifies no concerns. So that box that indicated the built form concerns was unticked, and it was indicated as being ready for scheduling. So I can advise you definitively that changes were made to respond to and address planning's concerns, and they were satisfied with that. If we could turn to the site plan, please. And when we get to the site plan, I will simply point out that these dwellings are modest in length. They are in the order of 14 meters. You can see from the site plan that the rear walls of all 3 dwellings are in line with the rear walls of adjacent neighbors. So there's no impact with respect to massing or overlook or privacy, because nothing would extend beyond those. The front yard setback, there is a small variance, but this is related to a pinch point of the dwelling to the west on the westerly side because of that irregular lot front line. So the 3 dwellings are clearly in line with the adjacent neighbors. I know that the house at number 173 is cut just a little bit off the screen, but there is a projection that projects towards the front on the easterly side. It's the other one I'm referring to, but in any event, it's the front yard setback is dictated by the front yard of that house. Yes, you can see it better there. So these dwellings will be in line with their adjacent neighbors, despite having a very minor front yard setback reduction of just under a foot, which transportation has indicated no issues with. The other thing that I think is important to point out is that although there is a lot frontage variance, it is technical in nature because the lot frontage at the street, which is where these houses will be perceived, is actually 7.62 meters. It's marked as 7.57 on the site plan based on being measured, but on the reference plan it shows as 7.62 meters. So the requirement to reduce the frontage from 7.5 meters, which is required, to 7 meters is measured at the required front yard setback. But these lots, as they are perceived from the street, from the public realm, will look to be zoning compliant. I can see that I'm already getting towards the end of my time, so perhaps
I think we can extend your time a bit because I think my questioning dug into your presentation time.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. So the next place that I would ask you to go to, I did submit a letter, a cover letter, when this application was originally filed. It's dated now because it refers to the original applications. However, there is some information in there that relates to the severance and to the built form variances that I just refer to very quickly. Yes, so if you could please go to page 3 of that letter. Thank you very much. And just to zoom in a little bit on that map and the photos below it, what that map is showing you is the sprinkling of severances that have occurred throughout this neighborhood. And clearly that is only a representation of the past approximately 10 years because that's what's available on the city's database. But it shows that severances have occurred throughout this neighborhood over the passage of time in a gradual and stable manner, and the neighborhood has continued to remain stable. And the severances that have approved are quite similar to and frankly indistinguishable from the severances that are proposed in this case. And you can see just in the images below that some of the new replacement dwellings that have been built. One of them is a rendering of what is proposed, but they're very similar in terms of style and massing to what is proposed here. If you would turn to the next page, there's a lot frontage map at the bottom. And I've really focused on the immediate context of Lakeshore Drive. And just to give you a few statistics, there are, within that immediate context, 46 lots, and 20 of those lots, or 43%, are between 7 and 7.99 meters. So really the most frequently occurring lot frontage in the immediate context is the same as what is proposed in this case. That pattern also extends to the north, the east, and the west into the broader neighborhood. You can't see it on this map, but Emerald Crescent, which is to the north, it has 25 lots. 13 are less than 8 meters in frontage. That's 52%. And that pattern does repeat, as I noted, on the street. So really a compact lot fabric is what is characteristic and the most prevalent characteristic of this neighborhood. And then the last thing, I appreciate the extension of time. If you could please turn to page 6 of this letter. This was just a sampling of photographs to show some of the developments that have occurred and that exist. Some of them are more recent, some of them are less recent, but I think it does give a picture of the variety of architectural styles, variety of heights, variety of massing that occurs in this neighborhood. And in fact, you can see that in image number 5, there is actually a 5-story apartment building within the same block as this property. So there really is no there really is no prevailing height or character with respect to what we see in the immediate context and beyond in the neighborhood. And the built form variances themselves, they are minimal. There's only 6 variances, including the lot area and lot frontage. So 4 built form variances. And I've done a review of all of the Committee of Adjustment decisions within the last 10 years. And I can indicate to you, Mr. Chair, that all of the variances are well within the range and in fact, not near the top of the range of what's been approved. And so just to focus on the 2 that are, I think, more important. The height variance, what is proposed is just about a foot of difference over what is permitted. Variances have been approved in the neighborhood. There's been 25 that are at 9.8 meters or higher in height, and those go up to 11.68 meters. Within the context of Lakeshore Drive itself, at number 90, a variance for 11.61 meters has been approved in the last 10 years. So the heights are varied, and this is well within the range. And then with respect to FSI, what is proposed is 0.86 to 0.88 times over 0.6 times permitted. FSI variances have been approved up to, in the broader neighborhood, 1.15.
Mr. Chair, we're at 10 minutes.
Yeah, I think we need to wrap up now, please.
Thank you very much. I'll just conclude by saying that the variances and the severance will provide for additional housing in a form that is well represented and exists. And I'll leave it at that, subject to any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one question, and again, I'm going to do it up front rather than later. My concern is with regards to the frontage. I mean, you're using a statistic of 7 to 8 meters, and you're including yourself in that statistic. But what I haven't seen is any examples of frontages that are 7 meters or less. Do you have any such?
I do. If you'll just bear with me for a moment, because I have too many windows open on my screen, I can provide you with some. Okay, so for example, if we are looking at Emerald Crescent, which is that little crescent that is right immediately to the north, there are, and now I need to just convert quickly from feet to meters, so please bear with me again.
And the reason I'm focusing on 7 or less rather than 7 or more, as you're focusing in your presentation, is because your lots decrease as they go into the back.
Well, that is true, Mr. Chair. You're absolutely correct about that. But I do think it's important to note that they don't decrease from 7 to less. They decrease from 7.62 to less. So 7 is at the front yard setback. So as I said earlier, that lot frontage.
No, I understood, but that's the way the frontage is calculated. So
okay. So then at Emerald Crescent, which is that crescent immediately to the north, what we have are there. So I gave you the statistic earlier. On Emerald Crescent, there are 25 lots on the south and on the north side. I can tell you that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row are at 7 meters or less. So they are at 22 or 23 feet, which is 6.7 to 7 meters. I can also advise that there is one on the north side, which is even smaller than that. It is 5.5 meters. So that is, you know, a strip of lots that are right in.
Okay, no, that's fair, and that's what I wanted to get into the context for my own way of thinking, rather than the ones that are up to 8, because it didn't seem to be apples to apples for me. But
well, I understand that.
Thank you for that clarification. That was helpful.
I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Members, any questions before we move on to the other deputies? Thank you. Okay, so our next speaker, where are we? 12. Rob Russell. Is Rob Russell on the line? Or okay, Mr. Russell, would you like to do your presentation, please?
My name is Rob Russell. I am representing my parents who live at 173 Lakeshore Drive, which is where I grew up as well. So I am familiar with the area. My address is 162 Guelph Street, number 209, Georgetown, Ontario, L7G 5X7. I do want to preface my comments by saying I have appeared before this committee before. I am a planner. However, given my inherent conflict, given my involvement in the property, please don't take my comments as you would have at previous occasions when I've appeared before you. I am an educated layperson, essentially, if for this matter. The concerns that we have, my parents and myself as well, really kind of boil down to 4 main things. One is that the overall taking all of the variances together and the severance it represents overdevelopment of the site. We also don't believe it complies with the general intent of the official plan. Certainly transportation has identified some conditions that we think could be problematic when it comes time to actually addressing them. And then there's also just, street use conflicts. So to go into those with a little more detail is, as Mr. Chair, you have already alluded to, there is a difference between what the bylaw regulates in terms of lot frontage and the lot width. These lots are reverse pilots. They get narrower as they, go back in depth. What I've measured, or what I've added up by my calculation, the lot width at the rear wall is only 5.62 meters. 5.12 meters in width, and that's substantially less than the allowable frontage. And of course, the lots get narrower as they go further back. There's also the matter of the lots being undersized. Although they're only undersized by a little bit, if you take into consideration the fact that they're at the minimum, essentially, by law frontage, but they have excessive depth. There's 46 meters in depth. I mean, that is a large lot, but they're still deficient. And then compounding on that is the deficiency in the floor area, where they're looking at 0.86%, whereas the bylaw allows 0.6%. That's a 30% increase right there. In terms of the official plan, section 4, policy 5B says that development must reinforce the existing character, and part of that is the prevailing lot size, character, configuration in the area. And although there was discussion there, the applicant has demonstrated that there are existing lots with similar frontages. None of those are reverse pie lots. None of those get narrower as they go back. So this is not doesn't reinforce that existing character. Section 4, policy 9A also says that where a lot or where a development does not conform with the prevailing character, that the height, massing, and scale of the existing form on that property must be taken into account, which this application does not. In terms of the transportation conflicts, they've identified that there are likely some city trees that would need to be removed. They identified that there's utility relocations required. We would propose that if this proposal was, revised to maybe include just 2 lots, a severance for 2 lots, that might be acceptable and could eliminate all these potential conflicts and removal of street trees. Lastly is what should be taken into consideration as well is the traffic on Lakeshore Drive. I go there all the time. I visit my parents. It is a busy street. It is part of the waterfront trail. It is very difficult to back my parents' driveway already as it is. And so, additional traffic, additional pedestrians on the street, additional cycling traffic, I think just will make this a little bit too busy. This is too much development for this particular area. And with that, I conclude our remarks. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from committee members? No, thank you. Our next speaker is Angela Grundy. Is online or in person? Thank you. Welcome. If we could just get your name and address.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Angela Girodi. I live at 1 10th Street in Etobicoke, M8V 3E7.
Thank you.
Is that still vibrating? Okay. Good afternoon. I live directly across from 175 Lakeshore Drive, which means I'm on the corner of Lakeshore Drive and 10th Street. That's why I have the 10th Street address. I'm here today to oppose the application for 175 Lakeshore Drive with a signed petition from 102 neighbors. To be clear from the start, we are not opposed to development in general. We are against this particular application as is not best suited for this site, and we all feel it needs to be seriously reconsidered. The proposal in its current form does not meet the 4 tests for a minor variance under Section 45(1) of the Planning Act. The first application is to sever the existing property into 3 undersized lots. This creates the need for 2 variances per lot, which means 6 variances in total. 1 variance per lot for reduced frontage, 1 variance per lot for reduced lot area. By creating lots that do not meet lot standard size by the zoning bylaw is an indication that they do not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw, nor represent appropriate redevelopment plans of a parcel, as stated in the official plan. This severance application fails 2 of the 4 tests of a minor variance. On my written submission, I did have plans of the photo, what the severance would look like. The resulting lots are smaller than required because the existing lot is pie-shaped, as we saw. The rear property line of the potential new lots is as narrow as 1.84 and only 3.4 meters at midpoint. That doesn't make that house very wide at midpoint. 3 of the other variances relate to the size of the dwelling units on each undersized lot. Increased floor space, reduced front yard setback, and increased dwelling height. Collectively, they illustrate the proposed dwellings, which I have another photo, are not within bylaw regulations. They are not designed to fit into the smaller lots without numerous performance variances. And there was another photo showing how the lots, the dwellings stagger the walls because they have to fit this narrow lot. The proposed variance to the floor space index for all 3 houses is not minor in nature and is not appropriate for redevelopment in this neighborhood. It does not meet the intent of the official plan. It does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw and represents overdevelopment of undersized lots. The request to increase bylaw permission from 0.6 floor space index to 0.85, 0.86, 0.87 would result in a 45% increase in dwelling unit size, times 3. This is far from being minor and therefore does not meet the intent of the zoning bylaw. And again, failing this test of a minor variance under the Planning Act in a nutshell in this case is, you've heard this before from another, too many houses on too small a lot. The solicitor's letter, Mr. Chairman, this was your first question, this particular paragraph. The solicitor's letter for 175 Lakeshore Drive states in her lot analysis that 20 lots within the vicinity of the subject property have frontages between 7.0 meters and 7.99. By using this group, the 70 meters to 799 is misleading, very misleading, and only 1 lot is less than 7.5, 1, and it is an older lot that was not subject to severance. Whereas the other lot, 19 lots of those 20, of 46%, are within the zoning bylaw between 7.5 and 799. As a side comment, which is not in here, the 4 properties the applicant was referring to on Emerald, they're semi-detached properties. Therefore, they're under the 7. 4 semi-detached, right there. That was not stated. I can tell you the addresses if you let me look it up. For these stated reasons, the proposed application fails to meet the 4 tests of a minor variance under section 451 of the Planning Act. Therefore, we ask that the committee encourage the applicant to submit a proposal better suited to this site. The neighbors respectfully request that this proposal be amended to limit the lot severance to 2 new lots with reduced floor space on each dwelling by way of reduction in size of each of them to more reasonable variance to the bylaw. Many neighbors, prefer that the current lot be maintained at its existing size, a new single dwelling be kept in character with other homes on Lakeshore Drive.
Can we just, ask you to wrap up?
I have another picture, or 2 or 3, of other properties in the area that is in keeping with the neighborhood. The neighborhood is not all new builds. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room or online to speak to this item? If not, are there any questions for this applicant? For this deputant? And if not, then we'll go back to Amber Stewart for rebuttal. Okay, Ms. Stewart? You gotta get her back, okay. The joys of technology.
Ms. Stewart, if you're able to try and unmute yourself, I'm not able to unmute you on my end here.
Joys of technology. My computer was freezing. I apologize. I could hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. If anything gets choppy, then okay. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you. All right, so I'll go through the points in order. So I heard a reference to lots being undersized and having to respect and reinforce the lot patterns with respect to lot size and configuration in the official plan. What I would say in response to that is I think I've already spoken at length about lot size.
Start the timer, please.
Thank you.
It's okay, go ahead.
Yep, that's okay. I've already spoken about lot size. The lot size pattern is absolutely not only well represented, but the prevailing lot size pattern within this neighborhood. The lots do not need to be exactly the same to respect that pattern. They need to be compatible and reinforcing. With respect to the configuration of this lot is not going to change. It is a pie-shaped lot today. It proposes 3 pie-shaped lots, and pie-shaped lots exist in this neighborhood and are just simply a function of the curvilinear street pattern. I would also point out that the pie-shaped nature of the lot will not be visible from the streetscape. With respect to the rear yard narrowing at the back, that is something that is only evident in the rear yard, which is the private amenity space of these properties. And although the lots are undersized from a lot area perspective, we're talking about in the order of 10 square meters or less with respect to lot size. So in my respectful submission, that really is a very minor departure from the zoning bylaw standard. And the rear yard setbacks of these dwellings are in the order of 27 meters. So that rear yard depth is almost as large as many of the lots in this city. So there is absolutely ample amenity space, and that is something that is only visible to the properties themselves at the rear. With respect to the FSI increase, I heard a reference to it's a 30% increase. Obviously, FSI is something that is relative to the proposed lot size. In this case, that FSI increase is well within and in fact substantially less than the order of magnitude. And it is deployed within a building envelope or a 3D shell that really only requires one built form variance, and that is with respect to a very modest, less than 1 foot increase in height. So the houses are shorter than they're allowed to be. They comply with the side yard setbacks. The rear yard setback is well in excess of what it is required to be. So that FSI essentially is fit within a building envelope that is compatible and reasonable and mostly compliant with the zoning bylaw, and it allows for 3-bedroom houses to be built, which is something that is a desirable outcome. With respect to the comments about safety and transportation, obviously, transportation hasn't raised any concerns. They've simply recommended conditions. I've already indicated that all of those conditions are acceptable to my clients and can be achieved. No safety concerns have been raised. Lakeshore Drive, it is a quiet street. It's not an arterial or busy road. And I have to point out that this site already has a very large circular driveway. So there's already 2 driveway access points on the property today. So what is being proposed is to add 1 additional driveway. With respect to the tree, all of the lots, all of the trees on this lot are being preserved and protected, with the exception of one, which is interfering with the driveway. But as the committee is aware, that is a city tree. Urban forestry retains discretion. They have recommended conditions in the alternative. We obviously have no difficulty with those conditions being imposed, and my client will be very pleased to work with urban forestry to address those concerns. And in the event that the driveway needs to be realigned to preserve that tree, that is something that can be done in that discussion with urban forestry. And I think, you know, just to sum up, this is an application for 3 houses which can fit on one of the largest lots within this neighborhood. The lots will appear to be totally consistent and the same as, compatible with the street pattern that is already in existence. And they're not going to be the smallest lots, neither at the streetscape itself or at the required front yard setback. My clients plan on planting additional trees to account for the one tree that is proposed to be removed at the front and at the rear, and those trees can be accommodated. So in the midst of a housing crisis, I'll just sum up by saying that we believe that this application is appropriate, will fit these lots, and we believe that planning agrees as well, because planning has indicated no built form and no lot frontage or area variance concerns. So in my respectful submission, this application should be approved because it provides for development of an oversized lot in a manner that is totally compatible and can be accommodated. So subject to any questions you have, those are all of my comments in response. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. I have one question before I turn it over to the members. I don't see any variance for a side yard setback.
No.
What is the minimum required side yard setback there?
Oh,
Bylaw required, you know?
you're testing my knowledge of the zoning bylaw. I believe.
Sorry, I just it surprised me that you don't have that.
Well, no, the minimum side yard setback is 0.6 meters. I am almost certain, and that is being achieved. And of course, with the stepped nature of the house.
With the step nature, you've got that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks very much.
In some cases, thank you.
Members, questions for the app?
No, sorry, this was rebuttal. So any opportunity was before the agent spoke again. Any opportunity was before the agent spoke again.
That's why I had asked if there was anyone else.
I'm sorry, at this point, the members can ask the agent questions, but you can't speak now.
That was why I was asking if there was anyone in the audience. I think I unfairly cut into part of that time, and that was why we let her go for 10 minutes. You had the opportunity to come up. You could have done another 5 minutes at the end of her presentation, but that's why I was asking, is there anyone else in the audience that wants to come up? That was my monologue at the beginning, which unfortunately, I know. Absolutely, and it's confusing. I leave it to the members.
I mean,
yeah.
we have.
Are you from the same household? Well, then you've made your presentation. I'm sorry.
And Mr. Chair, we do have the procedures that we try to follow. If you were to give them an opportunity, then Ms. Stewart would have another 5 minutes afterwards.
We have always had the rule that is one speaker per household. We've heard from that speaker. It was a well presented presentation. Thank you. Sorry. So.
So you had questions for Ms. Stewart? Or
I'm asking members if they have questions. My only other question is, I just, again, I'm concerned about the precedent of the 7 meter lot frontage, and can Ms. Stewart provide us with examples of single-family dwellings that are at 7 meters or less in that area? Because from what I'm hearing, there's 1 or 2 examples only.
Well, no, Mr. Chair, I don't think there's 1 or 2 examples only. I believe I gave you, I have to look at that number again. 5 examples that are on Emerald Crescent, which is just 1 street to the north. It's sort of the top corner of that curve.
Okay, and are those properties single detached, or are they semis?
Well, so I see that there are semis, and there are also, so a lot, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at the map as well. I'm sorry, bear with me for just 1 moment. I don't want to give the wrong information. So it looks like those 5 have semis on them. What I will say, though, is that the difference in the lots that have semi-detached houses on them versus the ones that have single detached houses or detached houses on them, I will say that the difference in those lot frontages, it's in the order of, 1 to 2 to 3 feet. So that's indistinguishable. And you had asked me earlier as well, sir, if there is what the required side yard setback is. I will say, I told you 0.6, but I've confirmed as well that 0.6 meters applies to detached houses in this neighborhood. So semi-detached houses are required to have a wider side yard setback. It's the area specific zoning. So what that means, Mr. Chair, is that
I'm not concerned with that. I mean, you comply with the side yard setback. I just wanted to confirm that. That's great. So
No,
my only other issue then is the lot frontage and examples of lot frontages that are similar to yours. And again, because of the pie-shaped situation, I'm trying to find other examples that are 7 or less on a single detached dwelling. And I think it's safe to say that there are a few, and it's sounding like it's very few.
Yes. So there are some. I can tell you that on the north side of Emerald Crescent, there is a single detached house that I am looking at that has I'm looking at that, and it appears to me to have a 22-foot frontage, which is the same as what's proposed. And there are others in the neighborhood, sir. But I do again want to reiterate that you used the word similar, and that's what the official plan asks us to look at. It does not ask us to match or replicate what exists in the neighborhood. So the fact that this house or these houses proposed would be sitting on a lot that has 25-foot frontage at the street, and then 22-foot frontage when we get to the building. That is an indistinguishable difference between the houses that have 25-foot frontage or 23-foot frontage at the street and at the front yard setback. So,
and I would have no problem with the 20-foot frontage on a straight lot, but you're not dealing with a straight lot. You're dealing with a reverse pie-shaped lot. And anyway, those are my comments. We're not going to split hairs over it. I just wanted to clarify for members that are about to take a vote what the context is.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Anyone else? Questions?
No questions. No.
Some discussion?
Yeah. I'm a little bit conflicted here, conflicted in my thoughts. No other conflicts. We've got a smaller area, smaller frontage. the FSI is a reflection of the building footprint, as Ms. Stewart has said. So they could have increased the size of the building and met the FSI or been a lesser FSI variance. There's no side yard variances. The rear yard is quite substantial. The front yard, really you can have a decreased front yard providing it provides the sufficient parking, which I think is being met. And it's not exceeding the two neighbors. They're matching the two neighbors in terms of the front yard setback, it appears. And whether it's the measurement or the appearance, it looks from the site plan to be effectively the same front yard setback. So I kind of leaning in favor of approval of these, but I'd like to hear it from Mr. Taylor because he usually has some good thoughts. Oh, sorry.
We're in committee.
Yeah, but that's okay. I mean,
Okay.
They might as well hear our thought. They might as well hear our thought process. It's a public
I
meeting.
can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
I can repeat sort of what I was saying. I'm conflicted in my thoughts. They're less in the frontage, less in the area. Their FSI is a component of the size of the building footprint. So they could have increased the building footprint and reduced the FSI, but they haven't done that. There's no side yard setback variances requested in meeting that bylaw requirement. The rear yard is quite substantial and it does narrow at the back, but that also means they probably meet the area requirements for that. The height is about a foot. So I'm sort of leaning towards approval, but I'd like to hear from Mr. Taylor because and the other thing was the front yard. In my mind, so long as you're meeting sort of, you can fit a car in there and meet those requirements, I'm okay with that. They're more or less in line with the two neighbors, which is what you want to see from an urban design perspective. So I think the impact on that is minimal. So I'd like to hear from Mr. Taylor though.
Yeah, I have serious concerns about the frontage. And I have those concerns when I consider their fit with the immediate context, not a couple of streets north, talking about immediately adjacent east, west, and across the street. So when I look at the neighbor to the east, I see a 20-meter lot. When I look to the neighbor to the west, I see a 10-meter lot. When I look to the person directly across the street at number 140, I believe I'm looking at a 20-meter lot. So I don't believe that 7.5-meter frontages in this immediate context are in keeping with this neighborhood. So my inclination would be to refuse the application.
The irony of that is that 7.5 would be permitted as of right. But again, it's not 7.5, it's 7, and we're dealing with the narrowing lot. So my only concern is a lot frontage and the deficiency in that lot frontage. I think the fact that there's the number of variances are quite reasonable. And if we were approving this on variances only, I'd be inclined to definitely vote in favor for this. But if you're doing a severance application, it has to meet the tests of the severance before you can get to the variances. And I'm not sure it meets that. So I guess as I'm not in a position to make motions, I look to the members to make a motion.
Okay, on the basis that the proposed lots are not compatible with the immediate context of this neighborhood, I move a refusal of the consent and the minor variance applications.
I'll second.
All in favor? The application is refused. Okay, our next item is item 13, 89. Someone help me out on this one. CRENDON? CRENDON Drive. Thank you. This is an application to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached garage. The existing ancillary building will be maintained. There are 4 variances being sought. Forestry is requesting condition 2, and transportation has also 2 conditions. We have one speaker, Hank Nata, who is the agent and is virtual. Mr. Nata, are you online?
Good afternoon. Yes, I am.
Thank you. Can we just get your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. My name is Hank Nata, and my address is 1789 Merrifield Highway, Welland, Ontario.
Thank you, sir.
Our company name is Nata Home Designs.
Okay. Not sure if we need a full presentation, but if there's something you'd like to summarize for the panel members.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out that this project is referred to as a 2-story addition due to the fact that this is a 2-story structure that is being constructed or proposed to be constructed on the existing foundation. And because of that fact, that is what brought on the requirements for the minor variances, which have all been addressed through the cooperation with the planning department. And I'll just like to add and finalize with the fact that the forestry conditions and the transportation conditions that are requested will be addressed with the building permit application and addressed and approved prior to final occupancy permit. And if the committee has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
Thank you, sir. Why were you deferred from hearing on April 27th?
Thank you. It was deferred April 27th because the additional requirements that had come up through the planning department to address the requirements for the FSI was also pointed out, and our company needed the additional time to make the added adjustments to the design and to the blueprints so that we can provide the added information as presented on the blueprints for those requirements.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Anyone ready for a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm satisfied the requested variances meet the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 2 and the 2 conditions requested by transportation services.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor? You have unanimous approval. Thank you, sir.
Sir, what item are you here so I don't keep asking for each one since you're the last person? Okay, item 16. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, our next item, item 14, 24 WATERBEACH Crescent. This is an application to construct a townhouse, and it was deferred from May 11th. Forestry is recommending refusal or as an alternate preservation of private tree.
Mr. Chair, the agent will be Khalid Isleem. He is virtual.
Okay, I have him here. Mr. Asim, are you ready to go?
Good afternoon. I am pleasure to be here actually. My name is Khalid Isleem. Actually, I'm a backup of the applicant Daniel Allen. I came here to represent 24 WATERBEACH CRESCENT. It was deferred from last time because actually the plot coverage was 36, reduced to satisfy the community planning to 34.5. And the height was 12 feet, so we make it 10 meter as the community planning recommended. And then forestry actually.
Sorry, I forgot to mention, there's only one variance that's being sought.
No.
No?
No.
I'm on the wrong application, sorry.
Do I have to continue?
Yes, please ignore my interruption.
Yeah, it's actually it's not the townhouse. It's detached house actually. It's detached house.
Yeah, I read the wrong description. Can we reset his time and we'll start over?
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I'm not used to juggling the two computers and sharing.
Okay, so we're going to restart your timer. You can go ahead.
Okay, this is to construct a new detached dwelling with an attached.
Yeah, a new detached house. That's correct. It is a bungalow, and it's
with an
a
existing
new detached
ancillary. Okay.
Okay, and then it was deferred due to because the plot coverage was 36. We work with the community planning to reduce to 4.5. And the height was 12. Then we made it up to 10, and then they are happy with that. Zoning bylaw is being also satisfied. Also, the forestry came to us. We already assigned harvester to work on application for forestry. So I think we're good to go. Any question? Okay. My address, actually, my name is Khalid Isleem. My address is 34 Forsyth Crescent, Georgetown, L7G 6G3.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the members?
Sorry, sir. Forestry were recommending refusal or submission of a permit, and you've said you've addressed their concerns?
Yeah, I already, because we came to know only because when we have the application for committee first time, nobody tell us. They just only with the last letter before a couple of days, they said you have to satisfy forestry. So we never came on, we never been what do you call it? They never tell us or they never that address this before. So when they address it, we already assigned somebody just lately, So when you came to know. So it's Mr. Ken is Arbitrary World. He's working on application. We will satisfy forestry for sure.
Okay, I'm not sure how you satisfied forestry, but
just Mr. Chair, if I may, on this point,
yeah.
The forestry memo dated August 4th provides a fallback condition too. Okay.
Yeah, so we don't know before, before nobody's telling us this kind of thing. Actually, it just came recently. Then the moment we know, we already have found somebody. We will be sure that we satisfy forestry. I'm sure from that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you can put that condition if you want for approval. You can put that condition.
Yeah, that's fine. I believe Mr. Palmer has another question for you.
So,
okay,
sir, you got deferred at the last hearing to consult with planning staff, and it appears that you've now reduced most of the variances, and you're now not in compliance, but you satisfied planning department. Correct? Sir?
Mr. C?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm saying you worked with planning to resolve their concerns. So
that's correct. That's
thank
correct.
you.
Yes, I did that. The height, and the main concern was the height and the plot coverage. We did that with them. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have other residents online. Vito Mastrello. Okay,
So the only area resident is Tim Amaro.
okay, Mr. Amaro, please go ahead.
Yes, hello, it's Tim Amaro, located at 34 WATERBEACH. Can you hear me?
Welcome. Yes.
Yeah, okay. I know these guys have been trying to build this house for a little while. They've gone back to the planning stages and everything else. I'm just wondering why they couldn't have met the why they couldn't have met the requirements instead of you know, asking for increases on all the, you know, the lot coverage size, the floor space. The floor space is still increased by over 25%, I think. The setback, I guess that would be part of the city. They've asked for a little bit less of a setback or something like that. The height, they've reduced the height. I'd like to see them stay still within the 9.5 meters. And the sidewalls as well. I don't know why they can't stay within the 7-meter guidelines, right?
Well, I guess everyone has a right to apply for what they think works for them. And when it's exceeding, then it comes to a public forum, which is here. And then the neighbors can comment on whether that affects them negatively and how so. And if you wish to make those comments, that's why we're here. Just to say that, you know, why can't they isn't really an argument.
Okay, the only reason that, you know, I bring this up, I've talked to a few of the neighbors too. I know they can't make it all online and everything else is, these houses, the 24 and 22, they share a shared driveway pretty well. And the owner that's proposing the new building, his new entrance will be at the front of his house. So my concern would be the neighbor directly beside him, because now he has side door entrance. And when they come out of the side door, the guy's going to be looking at a wall that's, you know, 20 plus feet high. And the other concern I have is the distance between.
That neighbor's not here. I'm assuming you're not here authorized to represent his position.
No, I'm not authorized to represent her. She's an elderly lady. I don't even think she has internet. I just, and the other thing that I wanted to know was on number 6 was the maximum permitted area of each platform above the second story is 4 meters squared. They're asking for 7.8 meters. What is this platform and what does it dictate?
I think we can get him to respond to that.
Is it a balcony? What is it?
I'll get the applicant to address that when you're finished your presentation.
Oh, okay. And the minimum required thing for parking, 5.8. Now he's reducing it to 5.5. I'm just worried that with him building such a big house like this, he's not going to have ample parking for his cars or anything else, and he's going to start to turn around and park on the street. I mean, the house is going to be, you know, roughly almost 3,200 square feet, plus the basement of another 1,900 square feet. The house is going to be over 5,000 square feet roughly in an area that's dictated mostly by bungalows. Is it going to fit the area? I don't think so.
Okay,
I think the committee has to look at that too, right?
Okay, is there anything else?
Would be
that's
the only other.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that would be about it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else online? No? Okay, so I'd like to go back to Mr. Asim now, and perhaps he could address the balcony issue and some of the other issues that were raised by the
It's a balcony actually because they have a small living at the second floor. It's a balcony, so I don't think it's a problem. It's approved by committee planning, and then for the
the balcony. So the balcony is coming off of what room? Off a bedroom?
It's on the second floor. What is the they use it like a small living. It's like a temple for them to pray, something like that. So okay. That's after prayer, just go have some fresh air, come back. Something like that. So, and then for the height, I think we satisfy the community planning, and then we made this for circulation of the heat, whatever. So it looks good. We satisfy all the requirements of the city. I don't think it's a problem. Parking is enough. Everything is okay. And then for the side setback, we require what is required. We satisfied. The back setback, what is required, we satisfy. So I don't think it's a problem. The frontage also, we also what do you call it? Also acquired whatever they like, the community planning. So I don't see it as a problem. This actually in it is good for him because if it's built, it's gonna increase the value of all properties around. So he should really be aware of this. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Members, any questions for the applicant? Nope. Okay, anyone, any discussion or anyone ready for a motion?
Yeah, I'm ready for a motion. It's good that the applicant used his time from the deferral to meet with planning and address a lot of their concerns. I didn't really hear very much from the neighbor that I was concerned with. I don't think they articulated a proper position other than saying they didn't meet the zoning bylaw, which is why he's here. So I'm going to move for approval with forestry condition number 2. Variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act.
I second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, it's approved. Thank you, sir. Our next item is number 15, which is 69 9th Street. And I just need a minute to find it. Okay. So this is an application to construct an ancillary structure in the rear yard, which will contain a detached garage and a garden suite. There are 5 variances, one of which has been revised. Variance 5 has been revised from 30 to 43.98% of rear yard landscaping. We have forestry requesting condition 1, and that's all I have. The applicant is Dan Akmovic, sorry. I'm sure I got it wrong.
That's okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. My name is Dan.
Good afternoon. I don't think we need a full presentation, but if you could give us a summary of your proposal, please.
No problem. Would you like me to introduce myself with the address too?
Yes, please.
My name is Dan Achimovic. I'm calling from DA Design. We're located 1185 Queensway, Queensway East, Suite 3A in Mississauga. We are the agent for this file, and you are correct. We are here for 5 variances. One of them has been upgraded as per planning comments. Since we were deferred on July 20th, we have been working with the planning department in trying to accommodate their requests. Basically, we've pulled off the laneway suite off of the south property line by a foot in order to increase that setback that used to be 0. This is a corner lot. The northern part of this laneway proposal, if you will, is on the 0 lot line, right on the property line. However, the property has quite a distance from the laneway to the street, so there is a sufficient enough setback from that perspective. If there's any other questions or comments, I would be happy to reply to those.
Thank you. Any questions from members?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sir, with respect to variance number 4, could you describe for us or point me to some information that I may have available, the extent to which you're penetrating the 45-degree angular plane?
Unfortunately, that was never clarified. We did ask the planning department to tell us exactly what those numbers were. I was told to simply include it on the COA application as that we are basically going into that. If you could potentially, yes, please. Not that one. We're okay on the side view. There's another one, the drawing that you're looking for. Not that one. We're good there. It's the other 2 views, if you don't mind. So same elevations, right? So stick with the elevations, but go to page C36. Yes, correct. Yeah, right there. So you can see that we followed the degree, the 45-degree, but unfortunately, because we're so close to the property line, we're within that 45-degree angle, based on the fact that we're not able to set back off of the south property line as much as required, which I think is a couple of feet. So we try to follow the line, but we are past it by, well, what you can see graphically there is about a foot or so. Unfortunately, the specific numbers were never disclosed, or we weren't really sure how to calculate it, and the planning department simply said, just ask for a variance for that encroachment.
Okay, thank you. That's exactly the graphic I was looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that was the best that we could do based on the fact that the stair shape, we were able to get out of that 45-degree line with an L-shaped staircase, but to go any further than the staircase on the ground floor would basically eat up the parking space. That would cause more variances. So this was the best that we can do with the space that we had.
Thank you. Any other questions, or is someone ready for a motion? Ready for a motion?
Yes, I'm satisfied the application meets the 4 tests under the Planning Act, and I move approval subject to urban forestry condition 1.
I will second that.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, unanimous approval. Thank you. Yes, sorry. Just for, you got it. Thank you. That was revised. Okay. So our next item, item 16, 103 WYNDALE Drive. And this is, let's make sure I got the right one. This is an application to construct a 2nd-story addition above an existing dwelling, and there are 7 variances being requested. Forestry is requesting condition 2. Planning is requesting 2 conditions, one as per drawings and the other with regards to privacy screens. And there's an objection from number 58, Battersea. And that's what I've got. The applicant is online and we have someone here in person to speak to it. So is Sarah online? Okay. Sarah Mahadi,
Yeah, good afternoon.
good afternoon. Could we just start with name and address first?
Yeah, my name is Sarah Maddy and my address is 1356 Ware Chase, Mississauga.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And if you would like to do start your presentation.
Okay, so we are proposing to construct a second-story addition above the existing one-story detached dwelling and a front and rear cantilevering floor. We're proposing to build on the existing footprint of the home, which doesn't comply with today's setback requirements. So we're looking for these variances to maintain the existing setbacks for our addition. The first one is the 42.5% of lot coverage we're asking for. We are not proposing any changes to the main floor, but the coverage is coming from the proposed cantilevering second floor addition. The second, third, and fourth variances, sorry?
No, sorry, it wasn't directed to you. Just
okay.
Please carry on.
Sure. The second, third, and fourth variances we're asking for are front yard setback of 7.74 meters, a side setback of 0.3 meters, and a building length of 19.46 meters, as this is where the existing footprint of the home is. Variance number 5, the eaves encroachment will be 1.6 meters and will be located 0.19 meters from the west side lot line. Again, this is just proposing what's already existing, but it's gonna be like a second floor addition. And the last variance we're asking for is we're proposing exterior stairs to encroach 0.11 meters from the west side lot line. That's everything.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make a comment, or maybe I'll wait till after. Yeah, let's wait. Any questions for? No?
I just one, just to satisfy my curiosity. Ma'am, the most contentious in my mind of the variances that you're requesting is the lot coverage. But I believe you said the existing bungalow covers 42.5% of the lot? It doesn't. Oh, it's the cantilever?
Yeah, it's the that's what I was going to raise, and I thought I'd wait till the presenters. But it's in the planning report, I think, describes the rationale for that. It's because that cantilever's out over lot area. That lot area adds to the lot area calculation. But from a drainage perspective, it's not going to have any effect.
Right.
And I think that was my concern too, was when I saw that. But then when I saw the explanation in the planning report, it made sense. And that's why they're asking for the conditions to make sure that it gets built as per cantilever, not as increased footprint.
Coverage on the ground.
Right. Okay, we have someone here to speak to it as well. Sir, if you could come up and identify yourself and your address, and then.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for having me today. My name is James Fields. I live at 5 Manrissa Lane with my wife and son. My grandfather built the house in 1961, so I've been a member of the community. This current development is not within the scope of the neighborhood design, and it is a substantial variant, not a minor variant. There's 7 different variants on here. I did send an email outlining some of my concerns, which is including water management, fire protection, also driveway space. Now, originally they were saying that this was going to be a 3-plex. So, and they currently run it as a rooming house. There's also concern that There could be environmental contaminants because they were using this location for a jump off space for their company, and the neighbor located at 105 Wyndale has seen them bury what he believes to be paint on the side by their property. This intensification would propose serious privacy concerns. As for we have not been given any blueprints of the building design and the view lines and sight lines. Parking is also an issue. If this is going to be a multifamily residence, this is not a walkable neighborhood. It has no sidewalks. This building has grown over the years without permits, bit by bit. And the intensification is going to be, well, I'll be perfectly honest, it will be the reference point for future intensification in this neighborhood. I'm sorry, my email was a lot more meticulous and thought out. I will let anybody ask questions.
Okay. So you're concerned about the built form and what it's going to produce in terms of the neighborhood, and it's out of character for that, essentially.
That's correct.
With regards to things like paint being buried or the property being used improperly, we can't deal with that. It's not our bailiwick, but you know, you can contact property standards or the appropriate city department to address that. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. I'm going to ask the applicant to address your issues and questions.
There are just two more things.
Sure.
Also, at the back and side of the property, there are utility hookups for Bell Canada. So particularly where they have the eaves along the, I'm going to say, east side, there is a Bell telephone line that runs directly parallel. And then at the back, there are Bell telephone lines that run parallel as well.
Okay, I think that's going to be Bell's issue, but okay, thank you.
That's part of the reason for setbacks.
Yep. Okay, if I can come back to Sarah, if you can respond to concerns raised.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so this will not be a rooming house. That's why we're applying for a 3-unit dwelling. The second one, the flooding and the water flow issues. Again, we're not proposing any changes to the main floor area, so the impact on the existing capacity of receiving stormwater will not have a significant impact. In terms of fire safety, we understand that the second floor addition is sitting close to the property line. That's why all the new side walls and windows will be fire rated as required by the building code. And in terms of privacy, the proposed balcony fails to address the neighbor's privacy. Therefore, we can propose a 1.5 meters privacy screen along the west and north side of the rear platform. In terms of parking, we don't see an issue as the driveway can fit 3 cars plus the garage. So that's 4 parking spaces in total. And we're required to have 3 parking, 1 parking for each unit. So that's 3 required. The neighbor's concerns were the exterior stairs. If this isn't an issue for the neighbor, we can definitely just move the stairs to have a setback of 0.6 meters as required by the zoning regulations. And I believe I covered most of his concerns.
Okay, thank you. Are you proposing to change that variance or?
If
You
this
can't
is
make any revisions during rebuttal.
We'll leave it as it is, and that's fine. Any questions from panel members?
Sorry, just a question. You're proposing, I think you're suggesting screening on the balcony. Now the balcony's over the garage, is that right?
Yes, at the back.
Okay, so, and I can't find a north arrow. I'm looking on, I think it's a proposed second floor plan A112. It looks to me like the screening would have to be on the east and south side, not the north and west side. Can you help me orient this plan, maybe?
Give me 1 second. Let me.
Or maybe one of the staff can help out.
North should be where WYNDALE Drive is, if you look at the top left corner of the site plan.
The front of the house.
Yeah, so putting screening on the north side of the balcony would be against the building, wouldn't it?
So it would be the west north side.
A112, is that's showing the balcony?
Yes.
The balcony's in this, is at the south west corner of the property, so the screening would have to be on the south and the east side of the balcony.
Southeast.
Not on the west and north.
Okay.
Am I correct?
I would say the west side, so wouldn't it be the southwest?
Sorry.
Yes, that's
But the
correct. Southwest.
Okay, where is this balcony?
The balcony is over the garage, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
I-
which is
I-
along the
maybe I'm
west side
confused.
lot line.
Okay, and north is the top of this drawing, right?
Yeah,
So north would be facing the street.
Okay.
Planning, one of their requested conditions is to put screening on
Yeah, then
the north.
the west and north
the-
side.
Yeah, and but if that's north, then west is
that way.
that way. So they're putting privacy screens on their own, into their own
walls.
space. Oh, here's the balcony.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the balcony, so the north and the west walls are already walls of the house.
no, the north and east.
Okay. The problem is these plans don't have north arrows on them to orient us.
The site plan does.
The site plan, but it's quite.
All the drawings should have it because you're turning them around, and so you don't necessarily assume that they're facing the same way.
I don't know.
I guess what we're struggling with is that is north and west the correct locations for the screens?
I would say it is. I'm looking at a plan with the north bearing.
Yep.
And when we say north and west, that would be accurate.
Okay.
And they are keeping the FSI moving the house forward where the garage is.
Sorry, they're just trying to figure out the screening. They're not asking for additional comments.
Okay.
I'm not sure north is correct. I think west is correct.
So,
Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, you're alluding to the possibility that the intention was to have the privacy screen facing the rear yard as opposed to the street?
Yes, the balcony doesn't face the street.
I mean, we could just simplify it and say to the satisfaction of planning. Put in some privacy screening to the
Satisfaction of planning, let them figure it out.
I like
This is
that.
not-
I like that.
If we go on approving this.
Okay. So yeah, I just note the other planning condition, which is to, they're asking to tie it to plans to address the issue of building length and lot coverage.
Okay, and so the side yard setback variance of 0.034, that's an existing situation, is that correct?
Yes,
And the eaves are an existing situation?
correct.
The stair setback is a new request.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And just for clarity, the new rules with respect to extra dwelling units, you're allowed up to 4 per house? Okay, so that's not under question here, that's, sorry? Yeah.
There's a variance that comes into a different state.
Okay, well, that's interesting, yeah.
So within their, if they didn't trigger a variance, they're allowed 12 meters high, 4 units. And there's some other small criteria, but basically within the footprint of not triggering a variance. Once it triggers a variance, it changes the scope of the building. For instance, according to this coverage, my lot, I can get 10 decks. If you allow this, I know it seems weird, but the same square footage, FSI, on my property would allow me to put 10 units on my property. If I severed it, I could at least get 8 and 8 without triggering any variance. This is the problem that we're kind of heading down, is once you say, okay, that covered, the way things get split up and the intensification kind of gets out of control. And right now it's in a very gray area. Because like, if they want to do a fourplex and they want to do it without triggering a variance.
Mr. Chair, this is after rebuttal at
Yeah,
this
okay,
point.
sorry,
unless there's
sorry. It was fascinating because it's new. It's a new world for us as well, but we actually shouldn't be doing that. It's okay. Sorry. Okay, we're in committee now, essentially. Okay, so unless there's any more questions.
No, yeah, no, I was directing questions to the applicant.
Okay.
Yeah. No more questions from me.
Okay. So, any discussion, or are we ready for a motion? So we're looking at 7 variances.
I think in the context of the planning department's review and suggested conditions, I'm comfortable moving approval. Variances requested are minor in nature and meet the 4 tests in the Planning Act. So that's subject to forestry condition 2, and the planning condition regarding tying it to the architectural plan dated June 15th regarding length and coverage, and installation of privacy screening on the balcony.
How do you want to word the privacy screening? Because
For the
there's,
satisfaction of planning department.
thank you.
So we're going to remove along the west and north sides, right?
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, all in favor? It's, doesn't really matter which way I vote, it's approved. I'm going to go unanimous. It's, yeah. And that is our last item for the day. Motion to adjourn. Neil?
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Okay, that one's unanimous for sure.